Okay, you should be able to hear me again. Right, okay, good. Okay, everything's working. Let me close that. And let me also change the screen because that's not the screen I want you guys to see. Perfect. Okay, so now I'll be right back. I'll answer your question when I get back. Steve the Steve, sorry about that. Give me 1 minute. And then, yeah, we should be good to go. Let me do this. Okay, perfect. I think everything's good to go. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. And yeah, refresh. Wait. You looked for orbits in 4D, and the dude used Excel, so you thought that was actually a good tool. No, to be fair, it might be a good tool. I'm just surprised. But also, orbits in 4D, like, I don't know if it'll collapse or not. Wait, the low latency option does weird things to music? Should I... If there's something wrong with stream that I can fix, let me know. No need to not immediately reach escape velocity. Wait, I have no idea what simulator you're looking at, but now I'm quite interested. I don't know how to fix the stream. If there's something wrong with stream, let me know. Like some water. Okay, so there was one comment by Steve the Steve before I left about Veritasium and having a good video on dark matter. Look, the truth is, as far as I can tell, it's on my side. The truth is, when it comes to video content, I would, I will be honest in saying that I can't follow videos. So if you, oh wait, there might be an out of sync. That might be on my side. Let me fix that. Okay, let me change this there and there. And hopefully that fixes things maybe a little bit. If it doesn't, I don't really know what to do from there. Okay, sorry. Can you back up a little bit? What's an n-body problem? So the n-body problem is is this problem in here, where you have n particles. Here you have n particles. All of these guys are one of your n particles, and they need to talk to all other of the n particles before making their decision on where to move. So, an n-body simulation here is, integrating all the forces together. Usually when I think of n-body problems, I think of that, but you also have other MD simulators where they don't really have to care so much about like particles from super far away. It could just be like a billiard ball model where they're all just kind of bouncing together and stuff like that. So like a simulation of a bunch of balls bouncing in a box is also an n-body problem. It's just when you have n particles and they're just moving around doing their own thing. So think of it like diffusion or something like that. It's just a bunch of particles moving around. The low latency option is trying to slowly reduce latency without distorting voices. So it's basically doing that only during silence and music. Oh, I see. Interesting. So it just kind of screws up the music, does it? Okay. Sorry, there's one quick comment that I was trying to answer and then I didn't get to the answer. That was about a video that Veritasium did on dark matter. I'm going to be honest, probably there is a very good video by Veritasium on dark matter that I do definitely encourage you guys to look at. But for me personally, I'm kind of putting a line on YouTube content. I just don't enjoy watching YouTube videos, so I'm not gonna watch it, especially not on stream. If you have an article talking about the same thing, I'd be more than happy to read the article. It's just that specifically when it comes to educational YouTube videos, and I know as someone who makes educational YouTube videos, I always acknowledge this is super hypocritical. But I genuinely can't follow educational content on YouTube. It's very difficult for me. So that's why, even if Veritasium has the absolute best description of a particular topic that's ever been created, like genuinely, like mind-blowingly, amazingly clear, I probably still won't be able to follow it. I need some sort of text article to understand it. So, again, if you have that, feel free to send it to me, but I don't know. I'm very, very bad at understanding video content. I know other people are directly the opposite. Other people, they absolutely need articles, which is, again, why I try to provide both, but Anyway, I was just going to mention that. What am I doing? I'm pressing Control Z a lot, and it's doing something. I don't know what that's doing. Oh, this is what it's doing. Perfect. Okay. That's all I want to say there. I don't mean to, go any further there. Okay, so if you have further questions about n-body simulations, this is the perfect time to ask, or questions about the physics here. Again, I don't know if I know the physics super well, but I can do my best to answer it. Outside of that, I might go ahead and start opening up the good old-fashioned Barnes Hut code we did just a super long time ago. And again, feel free to ask any questions that come up as they come up. CD Projekt, Simuleos, Alice here, CD Barnes Hut. Oh boy. Let me just do a git blame on barneshut.cpp. And let me see, the latest updates here were from 2016. This is one of the very first simulations I did on Simuleos when the channel was created. It's been a long time. It just has been a long time. So you're working on an n-body simulation in 4D? Yeah, so we start with the n-body simulator. Again, we're just getting started, so we're going to do that a lot in 3D, but eventually we're hoping to abstract that out into 4D. I missed something from Copweb early. I'm literally making each row in Excel the next step in the simulation. I see. Interesting. For me, the problem with educational videos on YouTube is that you just listen and think yeah, okay, seems logical to me, but then 1 hour later, you're like, I can't remember anything I learned. Yeah, so I'm not going to harp on educational YouTube too much because, again, I also make educational videos, and I acknowledge that, Smarter Every Day, 3 Blue and Brown, all these people, amazing content creators, and I'm genuinely a big fan of what they're doing to make, educational content more accessible. It's just for me in particular, I told you, I just read 20 papers. Here's a paper. I read 20 papers over the past 3 days, and I'm like, wow, I genuinely like this. So, what I'm trying to say isn't that educational YouTube is bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that I'm definitely the wrong audience for it. In that, for me, an academic paper is, not only the most entertaining medium I can think of, but it's also the most, clear to follow medium I can think of. And so it's clearer to me. It's more entertaining. I just prefer text. It's just easier for me to follow, and I enjoy it more. And so that's just where I'm at. And specifically Veritasium, and it's nothing against Veritasium, it's a great channel. Something about the way that Veritasium presents his content makes it very difficult for me to follow. He just did a video not too long ago that a friend of mine, also with a PhD in physics, sent me a comment on, saying that he thinks it's wrong, but he doesn't actually understand the point of the video, so he doesn't understand if he can even comment on whether it's wrong or not, about how electrical potentials work and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I just don't, I was trying to watch it. I was like, I don't understand what he's trying to say. I just don't get it at all. I have to understand the basics of orbital mechanics to fully grasp n-body simulations, I guess. No. Orbital mechanics have nothing to do with it. Let's just do this again. Journal new page before. It might have been his latest video with the electrical stuff. And I was like, I get what he's trying to say, but it was just Yeah, energy flow in electric circuits or something. But it's just the way it was presented made it very difficult for me to follow. And so like at the end, I remember being like, yeah, okay, fine, that's fair. But like right now, I genuinely can't remember the premise. I just remember being very confused halfway through. Oh, C++ is now open. Great, we'll take a look at that later. Okay, let me say one other thing. N-body simulations, right. So let's say we have a box. Oh, sorry about that. Let's say we have a box here. And then we have a bunch of particles in the box. So, okay, let's say we have a single ball, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's literally a billiard ball. And let's say we hit this ball over here, right? This ball is going to hit that ball, which is then going to hit, these balls over here, which are then going to hit, these balls over here, which is then going to hit this ball over here, right? So this simulation of a ball hitting a bunch of other balls is an n-body simulator, where your n, in this case, is equal to 11, because you have 11 balls in the field, right? So when you think of an n-body simulator, just think of, a single particle interacting with n other particles, where n is any number, right? So it could be 10 or 11 in the case of literally a billiard ball simulation, or it could be 1,000 or 1,000,000, depending on what you're doing. So you don't have to think about like orbital mechanics or any of that kind of stuff. For the simulation we're doing in particular, we're grabbing a particular box. Let me just go down here, where we have like a ball here and a ball here and a ball here, and the force that they're being interacted with. So the way that these guys interact with each other is the force of gravity. So F is equal to G m over r squared. I think it's big G, not little g. 1 second. GMM over r squared. So it's just like, on Earth, the force of gravity is 9.81 meters per second squared. It's kind of the acceleration due to gravity is 9.81 meters per second squared. So it's the same thing. So here you could, for example, imagine a case where we have a box and we have a single particle that's orbiting the other thing. And that's the case where you could use orbital mechanics. But we don't necessarily need that for this simulation. Are you doing collisions or ignoring it? For this simulation, you're not directly doing collisions, but if two particles get incredibly close to each other, you do have to do something about it. I think it depends. I think I've seen some people with a variable time step that do something about it to more easily deal with like the particles as they get close together, but I'm not sure. Let me go up here to the top. I missed a few. Energy flow in electric circuits. C++ compilation PR is open. It's misleading. The field lies mostly within the conductor. His conclusion from the latest video made absolute zero sense to me because he didn't explain it at all. Right. Okay. So at least I wasn't the only one, because I was like, again, I don't mean to play that card, but I do technically have a PhD in physics, and like he does too. And it's like, okay, like if you explain something that like me, a PhD in physics, didn't understand, and someone else who had a PhD in physics didn't understand, I feel like obviously I understood the pointing vector stuff, and I kind of understood the hand wavy argument at the end, but we were both just kind of like, what is he talking about at the end there? It's like, at least you should be able to explain it to experts. Like experts should be able to look at this and be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand that. I feel like there are some people on YouTube who watch Veritasium's videos not because they want to learn, but because they want to feel like they're learning. And there's a very different, it's quite different, And that goes back to a comment someone else said. It makes sense. He just makes it seem more profound than it really is. Right, exactly. That's what I felt like as well at the end of the video. Are you doing collisions or ignoring it? Billiards, what kind of billiards? 8 pool would be 16 balls, not 11. I'm sorry. I think you're right. I think it's 16. And I think I just did the wrong number here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's one more set of balls here. I don't know. There's another set of balls here that I missed. I don't know where they are, but we missed a set of balls. I think that was it. I think that makes it 16. You're right. As you get closer to the air grows, so energy conservation goes to crap. Right. Some more water. If I'm honest, like there's a reason I don't really do physics much anymore. And it's not that I don't like physics. I think physics is still an interesting field in the same way biology and chemistry is interesting. It's just that it's it's like, people talk about space. I'm like, I don't have any passion for space. I'm doing a 4D galaxy simulator, but the reason I care about this is because I like n-body simulators, not because I like the galaxy. The galaxy is just an easy tool to study this method. It was the same with my PhD. I didn't care too much about BECs, but I loved pseudospectral methods. I thought they were really cool. And I liked GPU computing. So I put it together. I was like, this is a pretty cool project, and so that's kind of how I've felt for a long time. It's like, the physics and the computation, the biology here, and the chemistry and the physics are interesting in as much as they lead to new computational tools. And so when you start talking to me specifically about physics or specifically about biology, I get a bit, I don't know, my eyes kind of glaze over. I'm like, what do we have here? Are we doing, I missed something. Bravo Almirante, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Let's see. As they get closer, the air grows, the energy conservation goes to crap. Essentially, we can use n-body simulations to predict the collisions of two galaxies, right? Yeah, you could do that as well. You can use it to simulate any number of things. Like during my undergraduate, probably the third research project I did. So the first research project was psychological studies of pain tolerance in suicidal patients. Then immediately following that, I did some electrical engineering work, and then I did some supernova remnant plasma simulations with Monte Carlo. So probably the fourth research experience I did as an undergraduate, did an n-particle simulation of dusky plasma physics. So yeah, collisions of two galaxies, but it's more broad than that. It can be used for a bunch of different topics, right? So billiard simulations, it can be used for this, which are great for thermodynamic simulations. It can be used for galaxy simulations, which we're doing right now. It can be used for vortex tracking in superfluids, at the very least. I think in classical fluids as well. I think the point vortex model works there. It can be used for any number of things, dusty plasma simulations, like I just said, just a bunch of different things, You have to be careful that your simulation finishes before the galaxies collide. No, you can do galaxy collisions. It's just you can't do star by star collisions, right? So the question is, what happens when 2 points hit each other, right? So like you have two balls, bam, right this. Like what happens in that stage? We're not dealing with that case, but the galaxies hitting each other, it's fine. That scale is actually okay. I can actually show you a video really quick from the Barnes Hut Wikipedia page, just showing how this would work at that scale. Give me a second and I can show you that. Let me go here and let me do Barnes Hut. Oh, I also found what might be the best paper in existence today. I'm joking. This is probably a pretty useful. It would be so nice. Oh, I see what's happening. It's just not loading in time. It'd be nice if it would load in time. Then this would be a really nice website. In fact, it's still probably a really nice website. It's just, yeah, this is the problem with this is the problem with interactives, right? Like they usually distract from the actual point of the post. Yeah. Anyway, let me just go to the actual Wikipedia page. Here it is. Let me go here. Yeah, I'm using Qt browser. Let's see here. This is the visualization I was looking for. So here we see two galaxies. I don't know how many particles we have here. And this is a collision, right? Like, and at this scale, the collision between the two galaxies, you don't really have to deal with like, particle interactions. You can just deal with like the interactions of the bulk bodies, right? Which is a completely different field. It's way easier to deal with in some sense. Okay, so let's see what we got here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a look at some of the old code that we had. So let's take a look at that. Quit here. Let me do a quick ls. So we have barneshut.h, barneshut.cpp. We have a make file. So if I just make this, I've always been fascinated with these simulations. They're so pretty. Yeah, I think they're quite cool. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not, so I always have this issue where like, specifically on my YouTube channel, I think I make like some interesting visuals, but then I don't let them linger. So I've been trying to think of better ways to do that. Does the simulation include rendering? No, it does not include rendering, which was a big problem that we had with the last time I ran this code. So what happened was 4 years ago, we did the Galaxy simulation, and the Galaxy simulation works just fine. We were like, oh, great, it's working. But the problem with it was that at the end we had to render 1 million, 2 million particles for 6 billion years. And it's like, well, how do you render that? And at the time, I didn't really think of like casting it onto an image in the same way you'd cast like an iterative function system onto an image. So I didn't really think of that. But had we done that, we could have done the galaxy simulation back then. But that was actually the fundamental problem that led us down like a giant path towards like building our own visualization library and all this kind of stuff. Like we went super far into trying to make the Barnstad algorithm like a really neat visual where you could see each of the end particles, blah, 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 but we just couldn't do it. It was too much for Blender at the time to show a 3D galaxy. Nowadays, I think I could do it a different way, which would have worked probably better. But anyway, it won't be too far before Milky Way collides with Andromeda, so a simulation would be good to predict what happens. Yeah, so for that you need the correct initial positions, and I think, see, this is where like my interest kind of wanes a bit. Like, for example, doing climate simulations. I care a lot about actually doing the climate simulation, but I don't care that much about making it physically accurate, right? And the truth is most people care about physical accuracy. They want to know how much is, I don't know, Canada going to heat up due to global warming. That's what they want to know. It's like, I don't really care about that stage of things. I just care about like the numerical methods, right? And so like if you want like an actual simulation of how like, you know, the Milky Way colliding with Andromeda is going to work for this, it's like fine. You know, that's a nice clicky thing to get people interested. And in fact, might be a good thing to sell. You know, if we can actually create a very fast n-body simulator, doing a simulation between them might be nice. But I don't know. It just gets to this point where like, when you start caring about physical accuracy, I'm no longer as interested, you know? Let's see. Time to throw the simulation Unreal Engine. Yeah, so Unreal Engine wasn't really that big at the time, but maybe it was used, but it wasn't that big. It wasn't like the big thing that people were using. But yeah, the problem with Blender was it was fully Python script, and you can only do so much with Python. I'm not too sure, but I thought the Earth would mostly survive the collision untouched. I have no idea. My simulator seems to be semi-correct with an inverse square 2D orbit. With inverse cube, it spirals inward until it gets close enough, and then builds up a lot of speed and shoots out. Right. I think that's actually what we're expecting to see. Because as you get closer, you know, obviously, yeah, it should shoot out. Like that's kind of what we're expecting. There should be, and this type of galaxy exists. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was with, which paper was it that I was looking at this one? There is a type of galaxy that doesn't spiral. And so in some sense, we might be generating one of those galaxies. So I think there's a set. So the galaxies that don't spiral are either, okay, so that's the thing, right? Like, the question is, if you let the simulation run for longer, do you get a stable orbit or not? I don't know. It's kind of hard. If you don't care about the physical accuracy, then you don't actually care about the simulator at all. No, I care a lot about the simulator. I just don't care about the physical accuracy of the simulator. We need both kinds of people caring about the physical accuracy to check the work of people and the people that don't care. Right. So I think you're right. This is why I'm a failure as a physicist, right? So like for me, like I said before, I did the physics PhD in, you know, superfluid vortex dynamics, but I got to be honest, I don't care about superfluid vortex dynamics. What I care a lot about are GPUs, and I care a lot about pseudospectral methods. I was super interested in getting the FFT to be incredibly fast on the GPU. Stuff like that was really, really cool. But the discussions about like making it physically accurate, I'm like, who cares? Like genuinely, who cares? It's a waste of time. Sorry, I dropped something. So like, you know, I get that a lot of people, and this is the thing, I know there's going to be people who like, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to look at any simulation, because this happened to me all the time. They're going to look at simulations and they're going to be like, you know, this doesn't beat an experiment, or, you know, like this isn't physically accurate because you're missing this model. And I'm like, yeah, but kind of the point of the simulation was to show that we can now do better things, right? Like you need people to make the numerics fast enough so that you can actually do the appropriate simulations, right? Let's see, what do we have here? Game of Life is not a simulation. I think who says Game of Life isn't a simulation? I've never heard that before. Everyone says Game of Life simulation. Wait. Let me just go over here. Let's see. Game of Life. Is this going to be what I want it to be? No, this is not what I want it to be. That's about the Game of Life. One second. Conway's Game of Life. Look, I hear simulation a lot. Anyway, let me catch up with chat. I missed some stuff. A simulation can be unrelated to physical laws. Game of Life, attractors. Spiral arms aren't actually about orbits. They're about density waves. Yep, that's fair. Spiral formation is a thing that happens in 3D, or does it happen in 2D? Or is it cause of the dark matter? So from what I've read, it is the dark matter. You can get a spiraliness in both 3D and 2D, but the dark matter allows it to be, in a sense, more stable. You get what's known as a bar instability if you don't have the dark matter in there. So what happens is you, like the speed of the spiral, the speed of the orbit on the inside requires the dark matter to be there in order to make it reasonable, right? So what might happen, and I'm not sure if this is true either, but what might happen is the dark matter also allows for a stabilization of the 1 over r cubed force law as well. I'm not sure. This is a good question. Cellular automation is a discrete model of computation studying automata theory. Let me just look for simulator. Look, I mean, to say cellular automation is not automaton, whatever, is not a simulation is kind of a weird line to draw in the sand, just for the record. You hear people colloquially say Game of Life simulation all the time. I agree with that statement. Not all iterated computation is a simulation. 100% agree with that statement. I'm not saying that it is. But what I'm saying is that, I think... this class is thought to be computationally universal, capable of simulating a Turing machine. Special types of cellular automata are reversible. Cellular automata can simulate a variety of real-world systems. I mean, it's like MD. MD can simulate a large number of things, right? It doesn't matter if they're super physically accurate. In fact, no simulator is physically accurate, right? You're always missing something. The question is, how physically accurate do you want to be versus how fast do you want to be, right? Simulation just means something that imitates a set of operations or rules over a set of time, right? I mean, there's probably ab initio calculations, that you could say are perfectly, physically accurate representations of blah, blah, blah. But I mean, a simulation inherently is not a perfect representation of the physics, right? But you cannot say something is a simulator if you do have no ambition of accuracy. No, I have ambition of accuracy. I just don't have the ambition of being the most accurate, right? There's a big difference between the two of them, right? So we're living in a world where I don't know if this is, I'll be honest, I'm going to be I don't know if this is completely true or not, but I know there is research into detecting whether dark matter exists, and yet we need dark matter in all of our simulations in order to get them to work out, right? And so dark matter in itself is one of these things where it's can you actually count this as physical? I don't know. And so, putting the dark matter into the simulation is just a way to make it work out, right? And so we're kind of just throwing in a bunch of things to make it kind of look physical. And so part of the question here is, what do I need? What's the minimum set of necessary things to create a reasonable looking spiral galaxy, right? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not simulating the physics perfectly accurately. What I'm trying to do is simulate a spiral galaxy. And my idea is that if you can simulate a spiral galaxy, whether or not it's perfectly physically accurate, at least it's using models from the last 5 years, then I reckon that's fine, I don't see, it's not like I'm going to be using models from the 1960s. This is something that people were doing 5 years ago. Let's see, what do we have here? Wikipedia says that a simulation is the imitation of an operation of a real-world process or system over time. That's fair. Keyword being real world. If your simulation is accurate to an incomplete model, if your simulation is accurate to an incomplete model, would that be accurate in your mind? In my mind, a simulation of an incomplete model is still, and you probably mentioned this later, but a simulation of an incomplete model is still a perfect simulation. It's still fine. Let's see, depends on what you mean by incomplete model. What are you saying? Are you just ignoring What are you saying? Or are you just ignoring the system? Right. Okay. This is a good discussion to have. I'm very happy that we're talking about this. So let's talk about simulations. This is a super good conversation to have, by the way, guys. So simulations. What are they? So first of all, you have a bunch of different camps. And so, I'm sitting here, I'm clearly on one camp, right? And high altitude is clearly on another camp, right? And the fact is, people argue all the time as to what the actual utility is in a simulation, right? And this goes way back, in my opinion, to the history of science, like the history of physics. You always have the theorists on one side and the experimentalists on the other side, and computation is somewhere, in a sense, in between. You do numerical experiments, right? So what a simulation is in some sense, to a physicist, it is a way to approach systems that you cannot do purely by analytical theory alone. And so it's a way to do like mean field regimes and stuff like this. So the point of the simulation could be for a bunch of different things. One point of the simulation could be to produce the most physically accurate result. And in that case, I do agree. You probably want the most physically accurate simulation. But in my mind, the point of a simulation could also be in speeding up the simulation techniques to make it so people who care more about the physical accuracy can come in and make the simulation faster, right? Like, it is inherently a numerical model, right? And if you don't care about the numerical model, that's fine. But I do care about the numerical model, and I want to make the numerical model fast. Whether or not it matches physics, fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that you can do the computation quickly. And other people really, really do care about that other step, and they can really jump in and work on that other step. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people who care about that second step. But someone actually has to care about the model too. Otherwise, you get crappy physics results because you have a crappy model that doesn't actually work on your hardware, right? You get people who are doing like insane stuff on GPUs that just doesn't work on a GPU because they don't understand the hardware. Like, in my PhD, there were I probably taught hundreds of people how to do basic coding because they didn't understand how to do it because they were so focused on the physical accuracy that they didn't realize that they're misusing the hardware fundamentally, so that they can't actually do the simulations they want, stuff like this. I don't know. Anyway, let me go ahead and catch up on chat here because this is a hot topic, and I just want to say that there is no correct answer here. Let's see. What are you saying? I feel like simulation shouldn't need to imitate a real-world operation. I think you didn't understand the definition. The bracketing is real-world processor system. Could you give me a link to the Wikipedia article with simulation in it? What do you mean with a real-world operation? Making the numerical model faster is a laudable goal, but it's not clear why you would call that optimization work a simulation. Well, okay, because you're actually doing the simulation. Like, you are doing, okay, you might argue the model is old, but it's still a valid model that was useful 5 years ago. And so I kind of feel like, fine, you're still doing the simulation. And you're making the model faster so that you can do the simulation. Admittedly, maybe it's not the most physically accurate one, but it's still an attempt to model physics. And I think it's still fine, You can't even keep your own definition straight. There's no bracketing. Wait, let me check here. I feel like we're like attacking people, and I don't want to attack anybody. Like, just for the record, I'm on one side of the fence, and I've always been on one side of the fence, and I make that very well known. But, keep in mind, like, don't like, don't attack people in chat, is what I'm trying to say. No one's attacking anyone yet, but I feel like we're getting to the stage where people are starting to attack each other. Just, careful. Hey, Prutz, how are you? Let's go here, paste that. Okay, so this says, a simulation is the imitation of operation of a real-world process or system over time. That's fair. Wikipedia articles give games as examples of simulations. That's also fair. I think a game is like a simulation, right? Yeah, I think so. They make no claim of reality. I mean, I would consider a game a simulation, right? Like a flight simulator is still a simulator. Is Guild Wars, is that a simulator? I don't know. I mean, is it? You're a simulator. It's not real world, but like, I feel like I've heard people call like video game simulators, right? What is the definition of a video game? I'm sorry. Like, Board Games Go and Chess. Yeah, I've heard these as simulators as well. As you're looking up definitions, I approve that. Not video games. So at what stage is it? There must be a specific simulator game by genre. There's a simulation list of business simulation video games, city building games. Okay, so there's a list of games that are specifically simulation games, like Goat Simulator, I guess. You could call it Murder Simulator, I guess. I don't know. Okay, I'm being very pedantic here, and I know I'm being very pedantic. And also, that's what you begin. Yeah, that's what you begin with a serious conversation with, right? I mean, I'm being very pedantic. I know I'm being very pedantic, and it's because the truth is, during the PhD, I had a lot of conversations with people, specifically because my PhD was in physics. I had a lot of conversations with other physicists, and those physicists would always say something along the lines of, your model is useless without an experiment. Or they would say something like, I literally heard this, the entirety of computer science research is a waste of time because it's not usually physically accurate. And I'm like, wait a minute here, guys. Like, you can't say an entire field is useless because it isn't related to physics. It might be useless to you in your field, but the fact is, there's a whole wealth of useful information in computer graphics that you could use, for like color quantization and stuff like that. Sure, maybe a lot of the very realistic rendering techniques are not super useful, but the non-realistic, non-photorealistic rendering techniques, NPR, are quite useful a lot of times for physicists, and there's stuff like that people just kind of don't care. Like they don't care to read the literature because they think it's a waste of time. And I'm like, wait, it's not a waste of time though. It's actually quite useful if you take the time to actually care about the computation that you're doing. I guess my point is, I was constantly told by physicists that doing computation was a waste of time, and it was always kind of annoying to me. So it was like, I don't know. I feel like there's this systematic, not derailment, but systematic diminishing or people felt like computation was a waste of time, even though their results were fundamentally reliant on that computation. So people didn't care about learning new computational techniques, even though they needed them for their research. And so a lot of times what I had to do was teach them how to do basic things because they didn't care about it. It's like, you should definitely care about this stuff. It's definitely useful. But anyway, I missed a lot of chat here. Let me go ahead and catch up. Hence, their definition is not what you claim. They would have added a comma if it was. Let's go back to real world here. I might be misunderstanding this. Operation of real world process or system over time. Okay, or system. It's a real world process or system. Fair enough. So it doesn't necessarily have to be real world. It could also be a system. Right, fair enough. I got it. I now understand. I'm on the same page. Yes, I'm glad to see someone as pedantic as me finally. Oh man, I don't think you understand how pedantic I can be. To be fair, I try not to be too pedantic, but if people start arguing with me about stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, we can be a little pedantic, just a little bit. It's kind of fun. Let's see. In a typical simulation, you usually don't have inputs that change at runtime, like a video game or chess. Is that also part of this? Let me see. Let me look for chess in this article. Okay. I don't know. And rides in theme parks. Wait, simulation entertainment encompasses many large and popular industries such as film, television, video games, and rides in theme parks. Where do they give games as an example of a simulator? It lists games using simulations, which is clearly something different. We're all super pedantic right now. The pedantometer? If that's a word, if it's not a word, it should definitely be a word. Pedantometer. That's what we're going with. It's off the charts right now. Darkseid, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Waterworld, it's all about computation. Bottom of the article. Are you talking about literal simulation games? Pedantry? Pedantry. Pedantry is a word, right? I've heard that word. What is your research topic? Sorry if it's confidential. No. My research is entirely open. That's kind of the point of this project, to do my best at doing an open research lab. Right now what I'm doing is I'm focusing on a bunch of different areas, but predominantly the intersection between, you could argue right now, computation. So computational sciences, and I've been really doing a kick with computer graphics recently and physics. So that's why I'm very interested in this problem, because we have this aux tree, we have the spatial splitting already used a lot in computational graphics, specifically color quantization, and using that for a better galaxy simulations, specifically n-body simulations, is really cool to me. And the other side also plays. I feel like there's some lessons that can be learned in the Galaxy simulator that can be used for like better video compression techniques that we'll get into later. And so I kind of want to talk about like that interplay between the two different areas. So that's kind of where my interest is. Color quantization is the act of taking a particular picture, which is of n colors, let's say 256 colors, and limiting the colors to like 8 or something like that. So it's like removing colors from a picture. And the reason you want to do that is to like, for example, if you have to compress something into a GIF, you want to do this, or GIF, or graphics interchange format file, whatever you call them. You have to limit it to 256 colors. But what we'll hopefully be using it for later is a type of non-photorealistic rendering. Essentially, I have a long-term goal that should happen in the next few months, where I can turn myself into ASCII art. I'm really excited for it, but it takes a bit of work. And so creating a fast color quantization scheme is one step in that. And so doing the n-body simulator allows for me to kind of start attacking that from a different angle. Because it's kind of the same problem. The spatial splitting is the same problem. So, pedantometer, yeah, I think that's what's going on. So as far as like the definition of simulations, right? Like going back to the question, simulations, what are they? Again, this isn't an easy question to answer. And if I'm totally and completely honest, I don't know if there is an accurate answer to this. For me in particular, I care about numerical methods, right? So a simulation, i.e. Something that closely approximates some system, a physical system, we'll say, is useful in as much as it helps us learn more about numerical techniques in as much as it allows for us to create new numerical techniques. That's where I'm at. So the n-body simulation here is specifically useful for generating better, more robust splitting methods, like spatial splitting schemes, or maybe Runge-Kutta force integration schemes, or something like that. That to me is the utility in a simulator. Now, again, the accuracy of the simulator is another thing entirely, and so that's where I draw the line. But a lot of people say that the point of the simulation, like High Altitude said, is in more closely approximating the actual system that you're working with, which is also probably fair. But, to that I say, we have non-photorealistic rendering schemes and stuff like that. I mean, at what stage do we get into the uncanny valley of simulations where, it's close but not exactly? I don't know. So I do agree that simulations should, approximate a system. And I do agree that, there are definitely people who care about it being incredibly close approximations, but that's just not where I'm at. And so, the big problem with this particular project is and the reason I'm doing a 4D galaxy simulator instead of a bunch of 3D galaxy simulations is because if we do a bunch of 3D galaxy simulations, inevitably there are going to be people who are going to say that, hey, this is not a true 3D galaxy simulator because you missed, I don't know, some dark energy contribution that, it makes the disk smaller or something. They're going to say you're missing something in your theory, and they're going to be right. But if we do 4D, and we make very clear that, look, this isn't a physically accurate simulation. We're not trying to make it physically accurate. We're trying to just see the general shape here. What would this look like? What could this look like? Kind of start talking about that. And we make any research results come out specifically in improving n-body simulations instead of improving galaxy simulations. I think that's fair. The research direction isn't in galaxy simulation. The research direction is in n-body simulations. And the galaxy is just, one test case. It's just something easy to work with. It's for example, when I started writing my first code way back in the day, it was a molecular dynamics simulation, which is essentially an n-body simulation. And I didn't know how they worked. And so what I did is I took some time to implement a Maxwell's Demon simulator. And I talked to my wife about this literally yesterday. And she was like, why did you implement a Maxwell's Demon code? I was like, well, because it's an interesting test case. It's a very easy way to test boundary conditions in your code base to make sure it's working correctly, and a few other things as well. Like we had a dynamic time stepping scheme and stuff like that it could also test relatively effectively. And so by allowing me, by creating an integration test, which was essentially another physical system entirely, it allowed me to test a bunch of things about the code and also learn about how to write better code in the future. And so kind of taking a step back and looking at maybe somewhat older problems, but problems that are still useful, I think is quite useful. I don't know if this question makes sense. The n-body simulation, the force that's moving the body, you said it was a gravitational force. Objects in space. Objects in space, the push is coming from inward, is coming from the inward or from the side, depending on which side the body is moving, or the simulation disregards the direction of the force is pushing. I'll take a look at this link because I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at, but I think you're saying that an object in motion will move differently than an object that's not in motion. But let me double check to make sure that's actually what you're saying. N-body problems here. Right. 1 second. Let me just go here, yank, go over here, paste. There. Make this full screen, why not? Let me see if it works in this browser. It does not, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Okay. Fast multipole method, right? Full computation, implementation, vectorization, shared memory implementation. Oh, they go as far as shared memory implementation. Really? Okay, interesting. Distributed memory implementation. This must be for... Interesting. Okay. This is actually a pretty decent web page. I mean, like, the fact that they talk about shared memory at all is kind of interesting to me. Let me reread your question in just a second. I don't know if this question makes sense. The n-body simulation, the force that is moving the body, you said it was a gravitational force, objects in space. The push is coming from the inward or from the side, depending on which side the body is moving. I don't fully know if I understand the question. This is why you don't write websites in LaTeX. Could be because of the H box at the top. So the truth is, I've done these n-body simulations before, and usually you read in the velocity of the step beforehand. Like you read in the velocity of the movement of the particle with every step. So it doesn't really matter. It just matters how you update that velocity with time. And it doesn't really matter the orientation of the object. So that's my question. I don't understand where the orientation comes in. So I might be missing something. You definitely need to separate numerical methods from the simulation using it. Simulation should be as accurate to the real world as possible. Well, numerical methods should lead to close enough results and be fast enough, and knowing how much of the speed accuracy trade-off it is. Right. That's why I don't write websites in LaTeX. Yeah. So I don't want to delve too much deeper because we've been rambling about the about the simulation topic for a while now. But I just want to say that I have definitely heard many people, discourage learning more about numerical methods and stuff like that in physics. I just want to make sure that we're not doing that. One of the problem of the wild way you use simulation is that the trade-offs you have to make during the code construction have different answers depending on the purposes. If you plan to do a solar system stability studies, you need very different type of code than if you plan to do galaxy merger. Right, exactly. But also, I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think the way I'm using simulation is wild at all. And I would like for you to clarify what you think is wild, because I genuinely don't think it's wild. I'm literally using the simulation of a system. And so a 4D galaxy simulation is clearly not super physical, and I get that. But also, like, most galaxy simulations that I've seen so far, specifically those that can create the spiral galaxies, are simply n-body simulators, right? And so why would you take an n-body simulator and specify it so close to galaxies when you could do a more broad approach and look at things from like the perspective of improving n-body simulators with a specific test case instead of looking at that specific test case exactly. You are 100% correct in that the different simulations require like looking at different physical regimes require different numerical techniques, and I 100% agree with that. Like, for example, like your choice of using periodic boundary conditions, for example, is dramatically different. Like if you're looking at a small scale and you want to look at bulk properties of a fluid, periodic boundary conditions make a lot of sense. If you're looking at galaxy simulations and you're specifically trying to create a spiral galaxy, maybe it doesn't make sense. Can you use spectral methods? Can you not use spectral methods? What's the point in using this or that? Like all of this, these are good questions that you need to ask. But I still, maybe I'm still not fundamentally understanding the point here. I mean, I'm not. I think I don't understand why the argument of I'm not trying to create the most physically accurate. Yeah, I don't care about the accuracy of the simulation. That is correct. I don't care about making it like the most physically accurate simulator, right? I care about capturing the physics. Like, okay, fine. Here's the thing. Journal new page before. Okay, let's do the PhD one more time. So during my PhD, we had two different types of simulations that I could have done. I could have done one simulation, which is the which we're going to call. I'm just going to say pseudospectral method. So we're going to say gross PDFC equations, GP. And I could have done another simulation, which was specifically vortex filament. Okay, so on the one side, we simulate the bulk properties of the fluid, and we see, okay, well, we've got like a vortex here, and a vortex here, and here, and here. We have all these vortices moving around, right? Maybe in this direction or something. But we capture the bulk properties of the fluid itself. And the other simulator, we have the same particles, but instead of simulating the fluid, like in this case, we're simulating the particles themselves, right? And so we're treating them as, essentially repulsive. You can think of them as like repulsive particles, like with a background superfluid or something like that. Now, people love using the vortex filament model, but they also like using the GPs for two different regimes. The vortex filament model is usually useful for, when you have thousands of vortices that you're dealing with, right? And this is also called the point vortex model, point vortex. But I would 100% argue that this is less accurate than this one. Like this one's more physically accurate, I would say, because you're directly modeling the fluid and you get the vortices in it. But this is so computationally costly that most people just use a vortex filament model anyway, because they're only really interested in the vortex dynamics and stuff like that. So, like, fine, you could argue, should we only use the GPE method? I would argue no, there's still a place for the vortex filament methods. It wasn't what I was doing, but I can still see the utility in that research, right? I just feel like, I don't know, like I feel like there isn't, it's kind of a weird argument to make where it's just like, just because the simulation isn't like perfectly modeling the physics, it's not using, all of the latest, things that we've learned from 2021, I don't see how it's still not a simulator. In both cases, we're simulating vortex dynamics. One's just a bit more accurate than the other. And this type of thing, Physical accuracy matters in the same sense that you must decide the set of rules to be implemented to be specific to the problem space, but that doesn't mean you have to capture all of nature. Like, how do you do the trade-off if you don't care about the accuracy? No simulation could be perfectly accurate or would really just be reality. Physically accurate. Okay, wait, and also, to be fair, you are right. I'm being very, like, hand-wavy here about how I'm saying, like, when I say I don't care about physical accuracy, I still need to generate a spiral galaxy with an n-body simulator, right? Like, I'm looking for the minimum set. Let me just write it down. Minimum set of necessary physics to generate reasonable spiral galaxy. Right, and so from some papers that I've read from 2015, 2016, so relatively recent, the minimum set of things that I need are, the dark matter halo, but also I need, obviously some stars. And so there's like the semi-analytical approach, which will actually treat the stars as kind of like an analytical background, and they only treat the dark matter halo. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. But ultimately speaking, we're going to need some amount of dark matter and some amount of baryonic matter, some amount of physical matter, right? And so with these two things, you should be able to generate a reasonably accurate spiral galaxy. And like I just showed, there's a paper, again, this paper's from 2014, but, sure, and you could argue that's almost 10 years ago now. But this paper, did a Milky Way galaxy simulation. Here, I'll show it again. Let me just go there. I thought it was quite a nice paper, actually. Let me just go back. I think here, this one, perfect. I already have the PDF up. Where's the PDF? Here? There it is. This guy. I quite like this paper. So this is a simulation of the Milky Way. And look, when I'm reading this, even I'm like, this is not a simulation of the Milky Way. Like, you're missing a lot of stuff. But, it's a nice paper. And all it is an n-body simulator with a bunch of techniques as to how to improve n-body simulations and how to make it faster. And it's not like, I mean, the reason you put the simulation in there is to make sure that you're at least somewhat grounded, Like, you don't want to just do an n-body simulation. You want the n-body simulation to have some actual purpose, right? And so even if I don't care about it being the absolute most physically accurate simulation ever, that's totally fine. Because what I'm trying to do is make it so it at least approximates the physics to some extent, right? And so, if I did this without any dark matter, technically I could still create a spiral galaxy, but I wouldn't necessarily consider that to be, and technically even that would be a physics simulation, but that's stretching the boundary of what I would consider real, because we've known we needed the dark matter to make the simulations work out since the 1970s. And so doing a galaxy simulation without the dark matter halo is just kind of like, you're doing something wrong. You're missing something, I get not interested in getting the best accuracy, but saying not interested at all, how are you going to judge the code output at all? In the extreme, not caring about accuracy, you should just output the NOOP command, fastest inaccurate simulation code. Okay, this is another thing. I do apologize, and I probably shouldn't be picking fights here, but I don't think I ever said I'm not interested at all. Okay, wait. I did say that, but I meant that in a completely different context, right? I was saying I don't care about the physical accuracy at all because this is just what I meant was that's not the research direction I want to go in, right? But clearly I'm not doing a completely inaccurate simulation. In order to get the spiral galaxy at all, which is going to be our test case, you need some reasonable amount of physical accuracy, right? Otherwise I wouldn't consider it to be a galaxy sim if you can't even generate that, it's we have fundamental questions that we're asking in 4D, which will guarantee that we're at least some level physically accurate, right? And the question is, do we create a disk? The answer is probably not, but if we could create a disk, you did say at all a lot. I don't think okay, right. So this might be my own colloquialisms. So I'll say things are not interesting, right? And when I say something's not interesting, I usually mean that it's not an interesting research direction for me to go in, but it's interesting for other people, right? So when people are if someone was talking about how you need, I don't know, if they're talking about how you have to use smooth particle hydrodynamics is probably going to be more effective for these reasons and that reasons. I'm sure, yeah, that's probably true. But the primary research goal here is creating a better n-body simulator, not creating a better, galaxy simulator, right? So it's meh, I don't know, what do you want me to say? I feel like you latched onto this word at all, and I feel I might have said it, and probably looking at the VOD, I might have said it a lot, but I feel the moment that you started attacking that, I switched and I said, look, it is a minimum level of physical accuracy, right? You need that minimum level of physical accuracy, right? It's just, I don't really care about it. It's not something I personally don't care about it. It's something I know I need. It's some of the bookkeeping I know I need to do, but I personally don't care about it at all, right? That's what I probably said. It's something I need to do to make sure the simulation is fine. But in the same way, I don't care about, vortex dynamics and superfluids, right? I care about the spectral code. That's kind of what I meant, I feel like. What do we have here? For these kinds of simulations, you can check if the simulation falls apart, and if the conservation applies, you don't need real-world data to test simulations. Really should have your enthusiasm when it comes to reading literature. It sounds too lengthy and wordy. Honestly, it was a lot of tangents before I got to explain it properly. Until I got you to explain properly. Okay, that could be true. I mean, maybe I'm super tangenty, but also I feel like I was pretty clear at the very start here. Super clear, I thought. That it's super clear. Maybe you came in after I described it, so maybe that's also part of the problem here. But I literally said at the very start here, somewhere in here, that this is primarily what we're doing, right? And so like, in order to create the 2D disc, you need some level of physical accuracy, otherwise you're not going to get there. And so like, I don't know, I feel like I might have been rambly, but I was rambly because I thought that information was already described. Anyway, I'm being super defensive now, and I shouldn't be. A few people followed a few minutes ago, and I just completely missed that. Dark Zaid and also Latewind, thank you guys so much for following, really appreciate it. Anyway, so don't call people Ben Shapiro either. Like, that's a bit of a, I don't know. Anyway, we're getting too far. I'm sorry. Like, I'm being defensive. I don't need to be defensive. I need to stop defending myself because, like, honestly, I don't think I did anything wrong here. Okay, so I'm going to go a step deeper, and I'm going to answer one more comment, because apparently I'm rambling anyway. Bella Rao, thank you so much for following, really appreciate it. Okay, yeah, I should have put this screen up, shouldn't I? This one? No, where's the Rambaleo screen? I should just put this guy up. It's like, welcome to another episode of Rambaleos. 1 second, let me just go back over here. What was I going to say? Reading the literature, right? So just going to briefly comment on this just because I wanted to mention it. I genuinely love reading papers. Like, more than like any other form of entertainment, reading papers is just like number one. Like YouTube videos, movies, nothing else even compares to reading papers. It's super fun. There's no other like place that you can go that has as high of a like an information density as reading papers. The paper I was just looking at here is 1 second. Is this one 2.24.77 petaflop? Let me give you a link here. I think if I click here, it'll give it to you. Yeah, that should work, but I want to give you the archive link if I can. Where is the archive link? Is this the archive link? Okay, here, I'm going to give you this guy, and you might have to Google it on Google Scholar to get the actual paper. That one will do. Just because you might not have direct PDF access. Maybe you do? No, okay, yeah, so you might have to Google it on Google Scholar to get the actual PDF. But yeah, I just love reading papers. It's super fun. I feel the same way about reading papers. It's like reading a short novel or something. Yeah, it's super fun. Like, I'm happy someone else finally agrees. Like, you know, I've been saying this for years. It's like, you know, if I could... When I went to MIT, there were a huge group of people who... Like, I would ask them, I was like, hey, could you give me a paper? And they would be like, I'm not really a paper reader. I'm more of a doer than a reader. And I'm like, I just don't understand that mindset. It's like, why would you not read papers? It's fun. Like, it's what I do anyway. Like, why would you not do this? And so, like, I don't know. I know a lot of researchers who don't read papers. I know a lot of people who don't read papers. I made a post on Twitter the other day saying that I love reading papers, and like the reason I want more people to read papers is not because I want them to know more about science. It's because reading papers is genuinely fun, and I want more people to enjoy it. And like, yeah, there were a few people who commented on that. I think 1 or 2 that were like, yeah, man, like, I don't agree with you. I think you're completely wrong. And that's fine. Like, everyone has their own perspective. Everyone has their own opinions. I get that. It's totally fine. It's just that there's something about like the way the papers are written. There's something about like the way, I don't know, it's just fun. It's enjoyable. Why would you not read papers as a dyslexic? To be fair, right? Like, there is dyslexia and stuff like that. And to some extent, like, you know, like when I'm reading papers, I just got to be honest. I don't read like normal people do, right? Like, I can't, like the word gravitational, I know this is gravitational, but I can guarantee you I didn't read the whole word gravitational. I just read gra. That's all I read. And then I just guessed as gravitational based on the rest of like the word length. I'm not actually like, I can't read like normal people can read. The only way I can read is speed reading, which is why like reading aloud is very difficult for me, and why I tend to try not to do it too much on stream, but then I end up doing it anyway. I have to read in a very particular way, which is not, like, there is no voice in my head like reading every word aloud. Like, it's kind of like I'll look at a paragraph and be like, oh, okay, that's what they mean, and then move on to the next one, because I'm not saying that I'm dyslexic, because I'm definitely not dyslexic. But everything does get jumbled up in my head super like all the time. And I think it's like really difficult for me to like express how I'm doing the reading, you know, it just seems like chunking. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. But I guess my point is that like, yeah, reading was like next to impossible in elementary school until I learned this one amazing trick, which was basically speed reading, which was way easier for me to understand, you know? And my dad is also dyslexic. So, you know, it's kind of, Okay, so maybe I thought I was weird, and maybe I'm not actually as weird as I thought. That's probably fair. Where do you find the papers? It was Easy University, where I got access to all kinds of archives. But once I tried it post-uni, I ran into paywalls. But this is more than a decade ago, so I kind of gave up reading. Yeah, that's actually a very fair point. We had this discussion not too long ago, but there are like basically 3 ways in which you can find papers, right? The first way you find papers, first of all, like what papers to read, is usually by reading other papers. Like you'll just look at the reference section and it will say, yo, here's a good paper to read that's related to this other paper, right? But, let's say you're looking for a particular paper, you can just go to Google Scholar first. That's where I usually check. And I look for, I don't know, paper, whatever. It doesn't matter what the paper is. There is oftentimes nowadays a PDF available on the right-hand side. This has become more popular in the past few years, but it's recently become more common to find the PDF directly on Google Scholar. That's not always the case, Intelligent paper? Wait. Okay, wait. I went to Google Scholar and I looked for paper. And the first thing I find is intelligent paper. And I thought this was like a meme of some guy just being like, this is an intelligent paper, please read. It's like, what? The next one's crumpled paper, which is kind of like maybe the crumpling of a piece of paper leaves permanent scars showing a focusing of the stress. This is explained by looking at the geometry of the developable surfaces. According to Gauss, such structures should have everywhere an infinite principal radius of curvature. This is super interesting. 1 second. Okay, wait. We'll get to this in a second. Let me take a look at both these papers later. Okay, so the other way you can usually find papers is obviously on the archive. So archive.org. This is a list of preprints for papers where these have not undergone peer review, but what people typically do is after the paper has undergone peer review, they update the archive paper to match the actual paper in publication. The last way, there's probably a few other ways, but the last way I typically think of to find papers is by going to a website known as Sci-Hub. Now look, I'm not recommending this, and I personally don't do it, in a way that definitely means I don't do it, because it is definitely illegal. In the same way that torrenting or torrenting videos is illegal. But there are websites like that. Doesn't have browsing though. Right. So for browsing, I go to the archive. I go to the archive every day. I just go here and I just look at the papers. Today there weren't actually as many papers that I was interested in, but LibGens is better. That's probably fair. But man, I've been thinking about creating a social network. This sounds super dumb, but I was thinking about creating a social network for papers, which with some sort of recommendation algorithm, because I'd be super into that. Honestly, I find a lot of these papers quite useful, but then a lot of them are I don't care so much about artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And honestly, sometimes even the data structures and algorithms papers, I'm the problem with them is that, they're often too... I love algorithms. Everyone loves algorithms, but the problem is sometimes you just get so far in complexity notation that it's I don't want to read another paper on why big O notation this is better than big O notation that. It's one of those things. I worked in research for a while, and even though I had access to journals, I still use Sci-Hub and LibGen for books. That's fair. There's a bunch of alternative archive front ends. Oh, no, that'd be nice. If you could give me one of those, I'd appreciate that. Because I've just been using the archive proper. But if there is, better versions of the archive, maybe that's what I should do. Let me take a look at these papers because I just want to see what they are. So Zernal PP, downloads. Then we're gonna go to RSPA here. Crumpled paper. Oh man. This is the only stream on Twitch that you'll find someone open up a paper about crumpled paper and think it's genuinely the most amazing thing that you could possibly do with your time. All right, 1 second. The crumpling of a piece of paper leaves permanent scars showing a focusing of the stress. This is explained by looking at the geometry of the developable surfaces. According to Gauss, such a surface should have everywhere an infinite principal radius of curvature. Okay, I guess that makes sense. The same condition holds when one minimizes the elastic energy of a bended plate up to a small flexural part. This energy is minimum when the plate follows a developable surface. By considering the developable surfaces, that word is hard to say, that are bounded by given closed curves in R cubed, we show that such a curve does not always bound a piece of developable surface, but one can find a special class of conical surfaces, the D-cones, that are still developable in the sense that they can be mapped on a plane by conserving the distances. This D-cone gives the outer solution of elasticity equations, although the vicinity of the tip is described by the full equations, including the flexural term. Okay, I want to do a simulation of crumpling paper. So there's an entire class. I'm not sure there's the one better front end. That's probably fair. There's an entire class of methods called computational origami. Oh, it's beautiful. I love this field. It's just like, it's just so cool. Like, I can't properly describe how cool this area is. Like, that's with every area, but like, recent results in sure. Okay, let's take a look at the paper then. It's just, it's called paper.pdf. Sure. Let's close that. Go here. Zernal pp downloads, paper.pdf. Okay, so this is the, art, the study of basically figuring out how to appropriately fold things. It's crazy. Like, genuinely. So I went to like one computational origami talk when I was at OIST, and I was hooked, man. Like, I literally only read computational origami papers for like the rest of the week. This isn't what I was looking. It's been a while. This is not what I'm looking for. This must be an older paper or something. But like, yeah, you can kind of see it here. It's like the act of finding the right folds and stuff like that. Wait, is origami Turing complete or MP? Wait, what do you mean it can't evolve? So like, it's the act of basically finding the optimal folding pattern for like you have a sheet of paper and you want to fold it as many times as possible so that you can fit it into like a square or something like that. Or like, you're trying to figure out how to create, create a particular shape or something like that. And so like the question is, what's the fold pattern here? How do you do this? What's this for? There's a lot of different applications for it. Like, there was one person that created a foldable kayak, which I thought was really cool. All this kind of stuff. I think I saw a video about that. Yeah, so Foldster in the community is actually like really into this as well. There was one other paper I saw, which was just the intelligent paper. Let me take a look at that. So Zernal PP, and we're going to go to downloads. And then I think it was just 10.1. There we go. Okay, this is just intelligent paper. I just wanted to look at this, just to see what this is about. I don't think this is a meme. I think literally they're trying to create a paper that is like dynamic, I think is what they're trying to, yes, that's exactly what they're doing. So this is probably useful for like probably was one of the papers used for like e-ink screens and stuff like that is probably what they're talking about here. Which is nowhere near as interesting as just a paper that's like, oh boy, I'm intelligent. Please read this paper about how intelligent I am. You can just imagine some guy. Oh, I should do that as like an April Fool's Day joke. It's like, it's like intelligent paper. It's like, here's a paper describing how much more intelligent I am than everyone else who's ever existed. Like, you could find some metric in which I'm more intelligent than Einstein, and then we use that metric on like a whole bunch of other people, and we're like, definitely more intelligent than these people. Like, defining some sort of intelligence metric that's based on like the amount of computation you're able to do at any given point in time, which I clearly have more computation that I'm able to do than Einstein, right? Because I have a computer available, right? And so like, I can find some stupid metric like that that's just like, clearly I'm more intelligent than Gauss. Like, I'm better than he is, all this kind of stuff, and like, oh man. I'm sorry, like, I was kind of into that idea and just be like, yep, this is my intelligent paper. Was that paper about how to fold a piece of paper such that if you fold a single cut, you produce a desired shape? Yes, I think it was something like that. How to fold a piece of paper such that if you do a single cut, you produce the desired shape. I need to take a look at that one again because I'm actually not sure what that paper was about. Paper.pdf. One complete straight cut. Oh, take a piece of paper, fold it flat. I think you're right. And make one complete straight cut and unfold the pieces. What shape? That's super cool. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to fold the paper in such a way that you do one cut and you create like this thing, or you create that thing. Oh, that's really cool. It's like, like when you were younger and you made those snowflakes and you folded the piece of paper into 6 things and you snapped it and then you've unfolded it. It's a snowflake, right? It's the same thing. How could I use this? I now want to make an entire video where every single frame is just one of these things. And like, no, I'm being too, I don't care. Produce an intelligence metrics for paper and proof that the paper describing the metric scores quite high compared to most other papers. Right, that's what you need. Anyway, I'm sorry. Like, welcome to another Rambaleo stream. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Let's just get back to the Barnes Hut simulation because honestly, let's get back to it. I feel your struggle when you have too many things you want to commit to. Yeah, so my issue is that, like, specifically when it comes to the academic literature, like every single paper I read, I'm like, oh boy, that's amazing. I could imagine using this for all these different, like, I just get super into it. Like, it's like every time. It's like, no matter what it is, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I didn't know you could do that. Like, this isn't as true for, like, again, it's not as true for like biology and physics and chemistry, but specifically when it comes to computational tools, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, okay, I got to make this thing. I got to do this. And then I get super into it. And I don't know how, I don't know why. It's just what I do. And then people were like, I don't like reading papers. I'm like, how can you not like reading papers? I mean, again, the dyslexia argument, I do totally understand and agree with that statement. But like, it's like, what are you doing? Like watching PewDiePie or something? Like what do you do in your free time? I don't know. Like, it's like, what could be better? I don't know. I know I'm really biased. I'm super biased here. I know that. And anytime I say this type of stuff, I try to wear that bias on my sleeve. I try to say, hey, like I am very, I'm a very special case. Not everyone agrees with me. Okay. So what am I going to do here? We have the C++ code. We have the Julia code. I don't think the Julia code's going to run anymore, but I'm going to try to run it anyway. I just opened a binary file. What happens if I run the binary? What's going to happen? What am I doing? I don't know. I don't even know what the C++... Okay, so let me just make it again. I don't know why I did that. Make clean. So I just made my C++ Barnes Hut code, and then I ran it really quick. I genuinely don't know what it's doing, because I didn't even look at the main function. .cpp. Let's just go down here. Main here. Okay. So what we're doing is... Oh, what even are we doing? Holy crap. We're not outputting anything. We're not outputting anything. Didn't want to leave this fun conversation, but it's late and I have to go to bed. Good night. See ya. Have a wonderful evening. Why just to suffer? No, I actually like VI. I prefer it to Vim. Look, I mean, everyone prefers their own thing. This is what I like. So, sorry. But, I don't judge other people for what they use, so please don't judge me for what I use. I do judge other people, and I do talk about it, but then I also say I don't judge people because I'm a giant hypocrite, I just, like, I don't know. Like, if you come in here using, okay, you say Microsoft Word, but I gotta be honest, I used to try to use Microsoft Word. I did use Microsoft Word when I was starting to program. Well, it wasn't Microsoft Word, it was like OpenOffice or whatever was on Linux at the time, to write code in, because I didn't know how to write code. That was something I tried. It was awful. Because I had no idea. Like, I didn't know how to do it. So I would like write the code in Microsoft with OpenOffice or whatever it was, and then I would like paste it into this thing that they had online at the time. Like, look, you can never underestimate the stupidity of a new user, right? Like, people who are new to a particular topic are always going to do the least intuitive thing that you as a well-known or a well-seasoned developer would try to do. You know, like, you can't... It's like, you know, if you're trying to get someone into a video game, right? And they're like, I don't like this game because it's boring. And you're like, no, you just have to play it for like 100 hours. I mean, you know you're in the wrong. You shouldn't be encouraging your friend to waste 100 hours of their life to get into a game. But at the same time, you're like, oh yeah, man, you're going to love Vim if you just use it for like maybe 10 days. You're going to love it. It's like, well, yeah, of course you will, because you know how it works, you know? I used an online compiler for C++ for a long time. To be fair, like, I think a lot of people start that way. Like, I think it's because like when people write C++ textbooks, I might be wrong about this, but I feel like when people write C++ textbooks, they're writing it with the Windows user experience in mind, where it's very, very difficult to install and use. Okay, I say this, and I know I'm super biased. I don't actually know what I'm talking about, but I feel like it's because it's so hard to create a development environment in Windows. It's so hard. Like, I know maybe I'm probably biased because probably people probably think the same thing about Linux, but like it was just night and day. Like they were like, here's how you set up. It was so easy in Linux. It was like, oh, all I have to do is G++. That's it. I mean, sure, I have to know like the libraries and stuff to read in, but like it's so much easier. I tried to do HTML pages on LibreOffice. Oh no, I think I did this as well. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, no, I definitely tried to do that as well. Because, you know, like back in the day, like as everyone does, you know, when you're in junior high and you're trying to learn programming for the first time, like the first thing you're going to do, like invariably, the first thing you're going to want to do is create an MMO. And you know, somewhere in your mind, you know, okay, I'm going to need a website for this MMO. And you know you're going to need programming. So you're like, okay, I feel like I'm going to need to learn C++ for this. And so like people learn C++ and HTML without realizing, at least I did, without realizing they don't go together very well. It's like, you know, I don't know, pineapples and pizza, like it can go together, but most people say it isn't actually good. I don't know, it's just one of those things, you know? I feel like it's universally understood that Linux is good for C and C++. It's not hard, but definitely harder than on a Linux distro. Right, I guess as someone who never really got into the Windows development scene, it seems unnecessarily complicated to me, but that's also because, again, I'm wearing my bias on my sleeve here. I never had to do it on Windows, so I don't know. The only experience I have with Windows development is trying to get libraries to work for like Python environments and stuff like that, which is a huge pain. Oh boy, is it a pain. Like we spent 4 hours the other day trying to get like HDF5 installed on Windows for Python, and we just couldn't do it. Like genuinely couldn't do it. And so we just, like, we knew how to do it. It had worked like 2 weeks before, but somehow when we tried to do it this time, it just didn't work. And it was such a pain, and we were like, all right, screw it, we're done. You know? Let's see. But Visual Studio is so slow and crashes constantly. Yet people still want Visual Studio Code on their Linux distro. Now, to be fair, Visual Studio Code has some great like tag programming capabilities. People in my old job would use it so that they could like watch each other code, and that was kind of nice. So yeah, they use it as an editor, right? That's what they use it as, and I think that's fine. Okay, let me go into the barnshut.jl code because I actually wanted to do this in Julia, and I can guarantee you this code is crap. This is my barnshut.jl code. This, I'm gonna be honest, is the very first Julia code I've ever written. It is identical to C. Oh boy, I prefer VS Code over VS since it's so much faster. I didn't know that VS Code and VS were two different things. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over here. We're gonna CD into projects, Simuleos, Barnshut. All right, Alice here. I'm just gonna run the Julia code. And we're gonna see what happens. All right, getting crazy over here. Include barnshut.jl. All right, let's see what we got. It ran. Cool. What did I do? I have a particle output. So poutjulia.dat. What is this? I don't know. Let's just go to GNU plot. Pout. Cool. Wow, that looks actually pretty good. we're done. We got it working. Wow, amazing. Let me see if I can plot the other particle. With lines. That didn't work. This is apparently the trajectory of a single particle with our Barnes Hut simulator. Oh boy. What do I even have here? I think I was running a 2-particle simulation. This stream has just been so completely rambly. Like, we've just been rambling about so many different things. And then I'm like, okay, look at this amazing Barnes Hut simulator. We're done here. Okay, one second. Let me just do Control D here. Vi pouch julia.dat. We have 3. What is the third column? This must be the XYZ location. It must be the XYZ location of 2 separate particles. So, right. Why are they the same value though? I don't know. Okay, let's just see what we got here. Vi Barnes Hut. .jl, and let's try to read the code and see what we can do here. So I'm going to go down to the main function. Again, this is the first ever Julia code I've ever written. So please, just, it's bad code. I know it's bad code, but like, keep in mind, I know there's a machine learning front end version that sorts new based on some topic modeling stuff, but I don't remember its name. Oh, that'd be super cool. There's also archiver moonhats.com for astrophysics. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, like I said before, and I know I'm saying this with the title of the stream being 4D Galaxy Simulation. Again, I get that. It's super hypocritical of me, but like, I don't know. I just never got into space. Let's see, observation of various cosmic ray. Interesting. So they try to show the images as well, which makes it way less engaging. Okay, but I can kind of see where they're getting at. But where's the title? Okay, I see. Yeah, you get used to it, I think. Especially on like a mobile device, I can see this being super useful. I never got into space. Is that supposed to be a pun? No, it wasn't a pun. I just, like, the thing about space that always got me was like, as a kid, like you have all those people who are like, trying to get you into science, and the way they try to get you into science is like being like, wow, look at these supernova, or look at the stars out there, wow, it's amazing. It's like, that just kind of went the opposite way for me. I don't know why, but like, whenever I heard people talking about like how amazing science was, I would always ask questions. It's like, well, what's happening? And like, no one could ever give me a solid answer, because like, I was in the middle of Alabama and no one knew the answers, right? And so what ended up happening was the idea of science as a like concept felt like magic. It felt like just this trick like that they're trying to show me that doesn't have any actual substance to it, right? And so for me, I was just constantly put off of space specifically because that's what they were trying to peddle on me. They were constantly like, wow, look at this amazing thing. I'm like, it's just, I don't care about it. You aren't like, I wanted to know the details. Like if they would have told me, here's a new numerical method, I would have been like, amazing. I completely missed that. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I'm sorry. I somehow missed that. I've not been paying any attention. Let me take a look at these. Thank you so much. Thanks also for pointing that out because I did miss it. I just suck. That's what I do. That's what I am. Take a look here. I think you said that one doesn't exist. I saw that. You said that one doesn't exist. No, you said the iArchive is down, which is fine. I can take a look at these later. This one, I'm quite interested in these. I want to, so I will hold these later because I want to see what they are. This one is specifically, let's just go to scirate.com. Oh, you gave me 2 different ones and I saw them as a single link. That's the reason. There we go. Perfect. There. Bam. Oh yeah, this is nice. I like this. Let me go to computer science. MP hardness. Yeah, this is quite nice. I like this. So yeah, this is good. I like the interface. And you said labs.ti.eu. I'm sorry. I'm being a, you know what I'm being. I'm being a jerk, and I'm not intending to be. I like this one as well because it gives you. Yeah, I'm gonna look at these after stream. So I'm putting them over here so I don't delete them. These links. Yeah, it's super useful. By the way, I need to be completely honest. Thank you for finding those because I think these could be quite useful. I'm so used to the archive interface, and also I have this app for my phone that allows me to go through, or my tablet, not my phone, that allows for me to go through like the archive differently, that I use quite regularly as well. It allows me just to download PDFs and stuff. But yeah, these are good. I like them. Thank you so much. I really appreciate them. To finish the space rant, here's all I was going to say. The reason I never got into astrophysics in particular was just because it was just that one topic that everyone was trying to push and they never explained it. And it just, what really sucked was at the time I was like incredibly religious. And I've mentioned this plenty of times before. I felt like I genuinely could ask more like deeper questions at Bible study than I could in science class. And I felt like I could get actual answers in Bible study than I could in science class. And so the main reason why I just never like latched onto science as a kid, I genuinely hated science as a kid, up until like I literally started doing research. To be fair, I knew it was interesting. I was actually doing like stuff probably mid high school and stuff is when I started like reading papers and things. But until I started doing that, I hated it. I thought it was like the most like annoying thing. Like they were trying to peddle like nonsense to me the whole time. And so that's why space in particular has just never clicked for me. Every single time people talk about it, my eyes still kind of glaze over a little bit just from like learned preconceived notions about something. It's not true. It's just kind of what comes to mind, So, and I know that bias, and again, I just need to explain it, which is again why, like, when we talk about like galaxy simulations, it's why I always put the simulation. God ruined space for you. I think it's actually the opposite. I actually really liked. I don't think that's true. I just think that it wasn't God. It was the Bible. It was so interesting. It was like something that you could read and you could reason about and you could think about. Whereas science class, you couldn't do that, right? And this is the fundamental failing, I think, with science education, at least in the US, and I don't know other places. And again, maybe I'll even specify that further, at least in Alabama. And I can say with reasonable confidence, this is true for most places in Alabama. I went to a fairly typical school in Alabama. You can't really ask questions in science class and get reasonable answers. Whereas I could ask questions in Bible study and get reasonable answers. So if you're asking, where do students actually learn critical thinking? It's certainly not in science class. Because science class, everything is taught like, this is how it is, right? Like you're taught this is what it's supposed to be. But in Bible study, you're like, I don't know if I believe this whole 7-day thing. And they're like, you don't have to believe the whole 7-day thing. In fact, you could interpret it this way. Or if you want to believe in evolution as well, you could interpret it this way. Or you could interpret it that way. Like it gives people like this way to like interpret. It gives people a chance to think about things and reason about a bunch of different possibilities, right? Which you can't do in science class. At least not the science class that I went to. You'd say, but what about this? You want to reason about things. You want to think, hey, what about this? Or what about this? Or what about this? But anytime you ask these questions in science class, you're told you're wrong. Like you're told, nope, that's not how it works. It actually works this way. Because the other person, like, it just feels bad as a kid. Whereas like, again, in Bible study, you don't have that experience. You're like, what about this? And people are generally like, yeah, okay, I'd believe that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not like that where I was from. No one ever asked questions in religious studies, but that might be because they didn't believe anyway. It could be true. And again, I know I'm being super biased here. Again, I always say that. I know I'm being biased. But that's why I always claim that my initial research experience was not in school. It wasn't in science. It was actually in Bible study. And I will always claim that. Because there was an open era of discussion that I had in church that I just genuinely did not find anywhere else until I got into actual research. And until I started talking to my professors. And that was the very next time I found that. And I latched onto that. I love doing research because of that. I love this idea of just being like, what about this? What about this? Hey, how does this work? And like, these are all questions that someone has asked at some point in time, right? Like these questions about like, all these fundamental questions, you can guarantee there's a paper somewhere about someone trying this very thing, unless it's a null result, in which case people maybe didn't publish. But like, that's cool. I like it. I like being able to ask those questions. And like, it's just something I didn't get anywhere else. Anyway, I'm rambling and I'm so sorry. Today's just been a ramble day. I'm so sorry. Okay, so what are you doing here? We have function main. We have the number of time steps, which is going to be 100. I output it in pout julia.dat. I think that's just because I have particle output. We say the velocity is going to be the square root of 10. Oh, I see what happened. So I just set them both to be like shooting off in the x direction, right? And then we say p vec, which is a particle vector, is going to be filled particle. Oh, what do we have here? I see. So this is their initial velocity, and what we're saying is we're going to have 3 different particles. So we're going to have one particle that's going to be 1.0 in the x direction, 0, 0. We have another particle that's going to be going off in kind of like a diagonal. And then we have another particle that is going to just stay right at 0. Sure. Okay. Reasonable, I guess. Then what are we going to do? We're going to say we make the octree, we divide the octree, so we have 3 particles. Right? So where was our third particle in the output? Wait a minute. You might be rambling, but this is still the most interesting part of my day. That's fair. I mean, I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I mean, if you guys want to keep rambling, you know, I'm always up for a good ramble session. That's just, you know, it's the name of the game. Let me go into the output. Why do we only have... I see. Now, why are we outputting it twice, though? Why do we have 2 of the same number over and over again? You go down to the bottom. Also, why is that third particle constantly at 0? That doesn't sound right. Let me try to plot this one more time. So we're going to do GNU plot. Okay. You switch Windows managers. What is this? It almost looks like basic Windows X11. I haven't switched Windows Manager yet. I've always been using the same Windows Manager. It's always been OpenBox. If you're interested, feel free to go to here. And go to off topic. I'll give you a link in a second, and just go to the pinned messages. It's right here. So it's right there in the pinned messages. I'll give you an invite now. There. No, I've always used OpenBox. I have some semi-tiling keybinds that allow for me to kind of, you know, put windows into place. But for the most part, I have not changed this desktop environment or Windows Manager since I was like 14. I somehow missed the H on that link. I'm so sorry. There you go. Per Sigmurray, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let me go ahead and plot output.dat. And now what I want to do is plot using I2. No, that's not going to be it. Why did that delete that? All right, let me try that again. 1 second. Huge. You can move it over there. CD into projects. Simuleos Barnes Hut. Okay. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do right now is see if the old simulator that we made like 4 years ago actually works or not. And I think the answer is it doesn't actually work. So let me mess around really quick. So we're gonna do GNU plot. And let me see if I can figure this out. Sorry. I use a tablet. Here's my mouse, and sometimes I try to type like this, you know, with the pen in my hand, and it just doesn't work. So that's my excuse for whenever I have typos. I have a pen in my hand. So that's not actually the case. I actually just typo a lot, but that's always my excuse, the pen in my hands. All right, so we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do using 0, 1. That didn't work. Using 2. Also didn't work. Using 1, 2. That's right. So 1, 3. Okay, let me just mess around a little bit more. How about 2, 3? Okay, I think I see what happened. Okay, I understand now. What are we actually plotting then? Let me go here. Let me open up this one more time. So this is, I think this is going to be the XYZ location of a single particle. I think that's what we're actually plotting here. So that has to be what we're plotting here, right? Let me take a look at the pout.dat here. It's just a single data point. Wow, look at old me, genuinely knowing how to write code. All right, let's keep going. Look, I have to stress how old this code is. It's kind of like, oh man, it's like, you know, going back and looking at yourself as a teenager and you're like, man, that guy was an idiot. But you do that anytime you look at old code, right? Let me go to vi barneshut.jl and let me just see if I can figure out what we're actually outputting here. So we have write of p output n. I don't know why we put 2 new lines, but whatever. Do the sunglasses actually fit on my emote, by the way? It looks like they do. That's pretty good. Okay. So what do we have? Make octree. We then do divide octree. for n time steps. So we're making the octree every time step. We divide the octree from the root, and then we do the particle output is going to be equal to the root p output, and then we write. Wait, so we're writing the center of mass out. That's what we're writing out. So let's take a look at particle output. Particle output here. Sure. Okay. Wait, what? What is this doing? If length of current pvec is equal to 1, we do write DLM file current pvec of 1. Okay, and for child and current.children, particle output here. So we're recursively going through our tree of all the particles, and we're outputting them to file, which is totally fine, valid to do. But why are we... Okay, but why are we... I don't know what's going on here. So we should have 3 particles in the simulation, and each of them should have an XYZ value associated with them. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to say if the length of the current particle that pvec is equal to 1, which means we're on a leaf node, I believe, then we should say we write DLM file current pvec 1.p. Sure. Then we say for child. Otherwise, we go through all of the children and we do particle output on that child. So it's just recursively going through and just outputting all of the information. Apparently, this isn't actually doing what we expect it to do, because apparently we're only outputting one single particle. So here we did print line pvec of 1. Let me also just print line pvec of 2 and 3, just to make sure we're actually outputting stuff. 2 and 3. Okay, so we make the octree in here with 3 particles. Again, they're all the particle vector. We divide the octree up, giving it a root location. So the idea here is we're giving each particle its own little box to work with. Then we divide the octree up, and we say particle output is going to be equal to the root and p output. So we go through all the children. There should be 3 children, and we say write p output nn. Okay, let's run it one more time. This is not looking good. Attempt to access one element vector. Okay, pvec is going to be fill. Attempt to access one element. Wait, what is this? Attempt to access one element vector particle at index 2. So apparently pvec here does not have... What are we doing? So we have particle here. It's a vector of particles, right? So it must be... Oh, this is dot previous p? Oh gosh, how does this work? Let me take a look at the struct particle here. So it's vector p, which is a vector of float 64, previous position. Oh, I see what's happening here. We have a single, we created a single particle in the simulation. So that's what's happening. Okay, I understand now. We created a single particle. We said it has a position here, and then it has like a velocity, and then it has an acceleration, and then it has... So why is it going towards the center? And then we have... Okay, and then it has like a previous position, velocity, all that kind of stuff. Why am I using fill? Okay, this... I think what we're learning here is that I'm going to have to probably rewrite this entire code base. Is probably what I'm learning here. It's not a big code base. It's like 100 lines. Set number. Yeah, it's just 200 lines. I'm probably just going to have to rewrite it. I genuinely don't know what I was trying to do with that code, which is fine. So we're going to have to figure that out. So we might have to write our own code base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd back a couple of directories here. And we're going to cd into a project I call Galilee. What did I call it? I thought I called it like Galilee.jl. L is here. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and create a Git repository here. We're going to call it Galilee.jl, which is going to be like Galaxy Simulation Galilee. I don't know. I just made it up. So let's go ahead and initialize the Git repository, get it all set up and ready to go. And then we can go from there. So I think if I go back a directory, I can do the following. So I think I can do Julia here, generate Galilee.jl. Am I not allowed to do that? Okay, so now we're going to do Control D, L is here. So now we have two Galilees. So let's CD into Galilee here, L is here. And we're going to CD back into Galilee.jl. And we're just going to move the stuff from one into the other. Move Galilee star here. And let's go ahead and remove -R Galilee. Come on. Sure. Okay, L is here. So we have the project.toml. Let's go ahead and do git init here. So we have the git repository already initialized. Git checkout -b main. All right, git branch. ls here. vi.gitignore. All right, and here we're going to say we want to put in the papers, I believe. Yep. Right now we're just going to put everything in the papers directory. It's going to be ignored, so paper star, I believe. And we'll just keep going from there. So we have the Git repository generated. We have a very basic Julia layout and everything. So you git add dot, git status dot, sure, git commit -m, adding, oh, I should probably also add like a readme. Readme.md is going to be Galilee.jl, a simple and body, Galaxy. Don't look. Yeah, I'll be back in just a second. Sorry about that. All right, simple and body Galaxy Simulator. Obviously, no one would ever misspell that word after just talking about Galaxy Simulators the entire day and having Galaxy Simulator in the title of their stream and talking in literally 4 or 5 papers available, like just right at my fingertips about Galaxy Simulation. Clearly, I know how to spell the word. Gosh darn it. Oh boy. Okay, simple and body Galaxy Simulator. And that's all I'm going to leave it as for now. We'll talk about it more later. So write and quit, and let's go ahead and move a license in there. CP, I'll move the one from Simuleos into license here. Let's go to vi license.text, and I'll modify this to be 2021. Okay, git add dot git commit -m, adding structure structure for Julia code. Okay. We're going to have to do a bunch of other things in just a bit, but for now we have the general structure there. So I'm going to go ahead and create the Git repositories. Let's go to github.com and let's create the repo. New. Okay. I'm sorry about that. New. The Q in Galaxy is silent. Did I misspell it again? Okay, now I have to check. Galaxy. Perfect. Okay, I think it's fine. Okay, so we're going to call it Galilee.jl. We might change the name later, but this is just what I'm calling it for now. A simple and body Galaxy Simulator. I did the same thing again. Public, create repository. Then we're going to add the remote. So git remote add origin. This guy should be fine. Perfect. Quit. Perfect. There you go. Now I should just be able to git push origin main. That should be it. Then I should be able to git checkout -b development. Okay, and I don't know why, but I always get in the habit of doing all my development on a development branch. I'm going to be right back. Give me just a minute. I've been streaming for about 3 hours now, so I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break. And then we'll be back, and I'm going to kind of create the skeleton of what we want to write for the Barnes Hut simulator, kind of sort of inspired with the code that I wrote before. And then I think we can talk about how we want to like make it sensible for the future and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so give me just a minute. I'll be right back. By the way, I don't know if I said this, but Mr. SG Liss, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start working with this a bit. So we're going to cd into projects Galilee .jl. The first thing I'm going to do is run Julia, and then I'm just going to add a couple packages that we know we're going to need. So for example, kernel abstractions, CUDA kernels, and then yes, we're going to add both of these, and then also revise. I know we're going to add that as well. So what this is going to do is it's going to add all these packages to the manifest.toml and project.toml, so that when other people load this project, they automatically get these repositories added in. Other things we might want to add in, but I'm not entirely confident we do, are like images, for example. We need to output it somehow, but I'm not entirely convinced the correct way to do that. So we might have like kind of a straightforward way to just write it to an image or something, and then we can do something a little bit more complicated later. Right now, Grant is particularly keen on using Manum somehow for these visualizations, but I'm not entirely sure how he intends to do that. So we're just going to have to figure it out as we get there. One second. Okay. I think I will add images and image views. So let's do add images and image view. We can always add them or remove them later. They do add a bunch of stuff though, which is one reason why we might not want to. The other package we might go ahead and load is plots. Yeah, let's load plots as well, just so we have it in case we need it. Again, this is a development repo, so we can kind of remove dependencies when we push it to the main branch later. I said development repo, but development branch is obviously what I meant. Again, guys, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, anything like that, feel free to let me know. I think we'll keep going on this stuff for a little while longer, maybe another 30 minutes or so. I want to get a basic skeleton of what we need, so I have an idea of like where we want to go with it. Then what I want to do is take a second to work on some algorithm archive work. In particular, I want to go through a new chapter. I was hoping to do that at 5, but I've done so much rambling and stuff today, I honestly haven't gotten that much work done. So I might just get the skeleton done, which will take another 30 minutes or so. And then once that's done, I will do the algorithm archive work, go through that chapter, and probably also take a look at like the C++ PR, a bunch of other things. And then depending on how much time is left, I'm not going to go past 8 today, but depending on how much time is left, I will focus on either going through the literature and trying to find a good paper for the color quantization stuff, because that's something else I'm quite interested in that will help this out, or writing some very simple solvers and stuff like that. Okay, so we have this down. Let me go ahead and add images as well. Okay, this should be pretty much everything we need for the development. C++, someone on Twitch is actually doing C++. Wait, I am not unfortunately doing C++ right now. I do apologize that you thought I was using C++. I'm using Julia for this. Now, I did have some C++ code available earlier on stream when I was doing showing some old Galaxy code, but right now I'm using Julia. If you want C++ code, there used to be a bunch of people who did C++ work on Twitch. Way back in the day when we had a programming category on Twitch, there were loads of people that would do that. Okay, I'm gonna cd into source here, ls, and let me just go ahead and open up. We have Galilee.jl. No worries, just heard the C++ pull request. The C++ pull request. Right. We have C++ build options in the algorithm archive, which we'll go to in just a bit. Now, what I will say is we used to do pretty much exclusively C++ on this channel before switching to Julia. But I'm not actually too keen to go back to the C++ days. Julia kind of does everything I want it to do. And it's... the reason I'm not keen to go back to the C++ days, it's not to do with the language. I actually quite like the language. It's to do with not even the community around it. It's just... there's something about C++ developers that they tend to have 25 different solutions to the same problem, and it always ends up being that like the solution that they have, they feel is more elegant than the solution that everyone else has. And so it ends up being that whenever you talk about C++, it just, for me, ended up always going down a rabbit hole of, should we do this or that, or this or that, that kind of thing. Yeah, but haven't seen a lot of people do C++ lately. It's a shame. I was talking about reviewing the PR and adding C++ to the algorithm archive build system. Right. Okay, but that is not to say all C++ programmers are this way. I was just saying that that is how it sometimes feels to me. Okay, I'm gonna cd back a directory actually, and I'm gonna create a new directory that I'm just gonna call notes. Cd make a directory notes. Okay. Actually, no, let me remove the directory notes. I'm just gonna put it directly in the README, vi README. Okay, so let me go ahead and write down the things that I've already written down. So ambitions for this project. Ambitions for this project. Project. Okay, so this project aims to create a fast n-body simulator using galactic simulations as a test case. Well, n-body simulator, let's see. This project aims to create a fast n-body simulator with a slight focus on galaxy simulations. In particular, it aims to create a 2D spiral galaxy from three-dimensional data and eventually be used for a 4D galaxy simulation. Okay, let's keep going. I saw the algorithm archive link in the description that looked interesting. Your file name is readme.md. Oh, did I misspell? No way. Oh, that's super embarrassing. All right, let's go ahead and move readme.rm whatever into readme.md. Oh no, there's a few. Gamozo is a C dev who works on vulnerability exploitation, not live vulnerabilities, of course, because he streams it. Yeah, so I don't actually know who's doing C++ or C anymore, but I know that, again, there used to be quite a few people that would do that. So let's go to vi readme again. Okay, and I'm just going to see if I can. I can't. I suck. Galaxy. There. Okay, this project aims to create a fast n-body simulator with slight focus on galaxy simulations. In particular, it aims to create a 2D spiral galaxy from 3D data and eventually be used for 4D galaxy simulations where we would like to see if a 4D galaxy could also spiral structures and what those would look like. Is that even a sentence? In particular, it aims to create a 2D spiral galaxy from 3D data and eventually be used for a 4D galaxy simulation where we'd like to see if a 4D galaxy would also create spiral structures and what those... we'll just say spiral structures. That should be fine. 1 second. DT there. Okay. The overall research ambitions... are to improve n-body simulations in general by using techniques inspired by computer graphics. I'm just gonna mention that here. So ambitions for this project. So I guess I'm gonna put like list of things to do, I guess. Of things to do. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of things to do here. And the overall ambitions here are still a bit waffly, but we'll get there when we get there. There's stuff here, it seems. Yeah, so if I'm honest, okay, so like 4 or 5 years ago, right, I started streaming on Twitch. I've been streaming a long time, but I haven't been doing it consistently. I don't really know what to say about it other than back then there was a really vibrant programming community that was separate than the game development community, right? So you had people who were making games in their own separate game development category, and then you had programmers who were in their own separate programming category. Then came a push towards the creative directory, And in that push towards the creative directory, basically everyone who was non-gaming was pushed into the same category, and it really drowned out all the programmers and game developers, right? And so even though some game developers survived, quite a few survived, a lot of the programming streamers didn't. And so even now, it's been kind of hard to find people who are doing specifically programming that's not related to game development. And even though we do have the software and game development channel now, it feels like a lot of that is still game development. Now, that isn't entirely true. There is a lot of good software developers on there as well. It's just that it sometimes feels that way, right? So I'm hoping that now that there's the specific science and tech category, and there's a specific software and game development category, that we can start seeing people do programming for things that are outside of game development a bit more. Now, that said, like you said, fishy poos, there are actually quite a few people who are doing non-game development programming streams, and they're in the software and game development channel. I feel software and game development category. I feel like I fit better here because my overall purpose isn't to write software. My overall purpose is to explore different avenues of research. So that's why I feel science and tech fits better as opposed to software development, right? The final goal here is basically to do research, not to write software. That said, it is ambiguous because I feel like maybe the primary audience that I should be targeting would actually be on software and game development instead of science and tech. But, I did a Twitter poll a while ago. Everyone said to stick with science and tech. We had long discussions about where I should be. Should I be in science and tech or software and game development or just chatting? And screw it. Too much discussion. We're going to go here. Software and game development group, never knew it existed. It's actually recent, as in the past few weeks. I don't remember how long ago, but I might have been a month ago now, but it's fairly recent. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the list of things to do. So first thing, we need to create the general structure. Okay, first thing, implement standard end body methods like ... So we need to do the Barnes hut method. Okay, just standard. Well, actually, we should probably start with end body. So we're going to do end body. End body. We'll say vanilla end body, maybe. Right. End body. Barnes hut. Now the question is, do we actually need to do standard end body methods on the CPU? Maybe. Probably what we want is standard via kernel abstractions. Abstractions. Okay, so here, let's see, what do we want here? So we want to implement this via kernel abstractions, and then what am I going to do next? This means, okay, vanilla end body, Barnes hut, and then something like, what was it called again? It was, what was their code called? It was, oh gosh, what is it called? Bonsai. Bonsai, and then maybe others. Okay. Okay, so then after that, what we want to do is create a better, I have this all written down. Where do I have it written down? 1 second. It's chotomate sumimasen. There. Okay, I have it written down here. Okay, Barnes hut, we want benchmark against state-of-the-art bonsai. We want the adaptive mesh refinement. So we want to look into adaptive mesh refinement. Okay, the other thing we want to do is look into spatial splitting schemes. And then finally we want to maybe look into like smooth particle hydrodynamics. And semi-analytic methods. Okay, so we have the list of things to do, ambitions for the project. I guess I also want another thing, which is overall questions here. Okay, here is a list of novel questions that are, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't put these down, but here's just a list of questions. I'm just going to put a list of questions down and just leave it at that. So the first question is, does a 4D galaxy create 2 double rotating spirals? And in addition here, does this depend the force law? Kropek says it does, so it probably does, but it's something that we want to look at. Does this depend on the force law? Do we need to do something special with dark matter to make this happen? Okay, so create 2 double rotating spirals. Sure, that's one question. But the more interesting questions, I believe, at least for me, are more related to can we optimize n-body simulations using better spatial techniques? Okay, and a follow-up question here is, can we use adaptive mesh refinement for like color quantization, for video color quantization? And this will be a follow-up. Sure. Okay, let's just go ahead and write that there. I'm gonna do git checkout main. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is go ahead and commit this to main. So git add readme.md. Sure. Git rm readme here. Git status. Okay, git commit -m, adding more detail to readme. All right, perfect. Git log, git rebase -i head here. Come on. Sure. Oh, actually, I think I screwed up. I think it needs to be 2. Oh, git log. Wait, how do I rebase onto that? Okay, git. Can I modify? Wait. I need to think about this. Git rebase -i. I want to modify the initial commit. So can't I just do this? No, this. No, this one. That's the one I want. Wait. How do I... Can I squash this? I don't think I can. I think I need the other commit to... Oh, I screwed up. No, I can't squash without the other commit. So how about I just grab that? Where are we? Git log. Okay, so I only have one commit then. ls. Did I just lose? No, I didn't. Okay. How do I squash? How do I squash onto the initial commit? That's my stupid question. Git log. Git log. All right, I'm at Google. Squashing. Git rebase interactive commit. Nope. Git rebase root master. No. You're kind of. We should help out, but I'm completely useless at Git. That's fair. Git filter. That's what I have. Okay, let's just try. No. Git rebase -i head 2 doesn't work. Let's go here. G. What does that mean? What is liberali? What is that? What's liberali? Is this a language? Let me see. What do we have here? I mean, it's obviously a language. What is this? Um, okay, detect language. Liberals work at the state. Cool. That's nice. You said, oh, that that did not translate. Most liberals are state employees, large and small, have zero power in Romania. I am sorry to hear that. I don't know what that's related to, but I do have friends from Romania, if that helps. I know this sounds really dumb, but that's the only thing I can contribute to that conversation. Squash all get commits into one. Root, I guess is what I need. Get rebase root -I. There we go. That's what I wanted. And we're gonna squash this guy, I think. Okay. Sure, we can delete this guy. Perfect. Okay. Get. Well, let's do ls really quick. VI readme. Perfect. All right. Get push origin main -- force. Okay, good to go. Get checkout development. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to do algorithm archive work in just a second. What I need to do first is kind of like list out the things that we need to do. They're so out of the conversation, it's nearly funny. Yeah, I don't understand, like, that's kind of true, I mean, in a way. Like, I don't even understand, like, I don't even understand where that came from, you know? Like, but that's how trolls are, you know? They just kind of come in. I'm not saying that they're a troll, I'm just saying that, like, I don't have any way to contribute to that conversation at all. I'm so confused about it as well. People just come in and they say things, you know? Like, it happens. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal at all. I mean, the fact is, like, a lot of people came to this channel and just said things, and then they ended up becoming regulars, you know? I feel like that's how it works, you know? You kind of come in, you make fun of me because I sound like Sheldon Cooper, and, you know, you don't know what I'm talking about, and then you make fun of me because I'm incredibly pedantic, and then after a while, you stay here because it's a bit of Stockholm Syndrome, you know? It's like you spent so much time, you know, making fun of me that now you feel like you can't leave, you know? That's just how people, you know, how it happens. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. Get branch... ls here, cd into source, the Illuminati. Is that what they're talking about? Oh no, that's an emote. Wait, what is it? Okay, why is this emote coming up? Wait, why is this emote? What is this for? Should I know about the Illuminati? Is this like, like I know Kappa. Like Kappa is like the only emote I actually understand. Kind of. Okay, I don't fully understand it, but I understand it to some extent. What is the Illuminati emote for? Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open up. It was made for Stockholm. It was for the Stockholm comment. Oh, okay. I still don't know if I understand it, but I'm going to say I do. A club we can't leave. Okay. Next, I'm going to just let me think of it. What do we actually need for this directory structure? I generally feel like we're going to need a few different files. I'm going to go ahead and touch them now. I feel like we're going to have to touch a file for grid generation, so we're going to call it mesh.jl. We're probably going to need a file for force integrators, so we'll call them touch. I'm going to call them forces.jl maybe. Okay, we're going to need a file for we need the mesh generator. I guess everything in mesh should also have tree traversal in there as well, I suppose. Oh, I don't like that too much, but maybe that is what it is. And then what's the other big thing we need here? We need, it's gonna be mesh generation. We need force integration. Let me see, what do we have? Maybe we can just bundle everything in mesh. Maybe that's okay. But we probably also need a discussion about the initial conditions. Sorry. 1 second, I need some water. Initial conditions, maybe? Yeah, maybe I need a separate file for initialization. I'm going to touch that really quick. .jl. Okay, let's go into vi Galilee.jl, and we're just going to include those files. So we want to include It was, okay, let's try that again. Maybe I should call it solvers. But in fact, we could use differential equations.jl. Let's see what they have in differential equations in just a second. Forces. Oh, could I call them, we'll call it forces.jl for now. We can change the name later. So then we also want include ls source. Okay, so we probably want initialization.jl. And the last one is going to be include mesh.jl. Okay. So these are the things I think we're going to want. Let's go ahead and DD there. And sure. Okay, this seems fine to me. Okay. We generally have the structure ready to go. There's going to be a lot left to do, but I want to do some algorithm archive work today, and there's actually a lot of algorithm archive work to do. So I'm going to switch modes right now to the algorithm archive. Should I also change the name of the stream from 4D Galaxy Sim to algorithm archive? I think I will, so people don't come in and ask about the 4D Galaxy Sim. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Here. Yeah. I'm going to keep the research tag. Algorithm archive. Speaking of the research tag, I have something important to ask you guys. Let me just go ahead and set this to be done. And let me just, I guess I'll go to Twitter. What is the best way to give you guys this link? Let me go to Twitter. Yeah, unfortunately, I'll put this link on Discord as well, but let me just go to my profile. All right, gotta go for half an hour or so, but this looks pretty awesome, so I'll be back in a bit. Yeah, I hope to see you in, 30 minutes or so. Thanks for stopping by. I saw the GLX gears and I was excited. I'm looking for a particular research tag comment that I made not too long ago. Here it is, this guy. Perfect. So let's grab this guy. I'm just gonna grab this, yank, paste it here as well. Okay, so you guys know, there aren't too many people that do research on Twitch. That is to say, there are a few people. Like, for example, Freckled Scientist does research on Twitch and stuff like that. But for the most part, I feel like, there could be a lot more people doing research on Twitch. And so what I'm trying to do is get a research tag available on Twitch. And so I created, this user voice post asking if we could create a research tag so people can more easily find research on Twitch. Now, obviously, one way to do that is just to go to the science and tech category. But, that doesn't always work. And so having a research tag would mean that even if you're in IRL, you're in software and game development, there's still a way to find researchers specifically on Twitch. So research tag suggestion. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and pin that as well. So it's on Discord. Pin there. Oh yeah, pin it. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to let everyone know about that. It doesn't have too many votes. I'm not expecting it to get too popular. I just think if I keep talking about it on stream, maybe there will be some people who are really into it. I really do want to see more people specifically research on Twitch, because I think, when it comes to cool things, when I think about things that I genuinely want to see more people do, pretty much all of that cool stuff is here. It's all in these papers. It has to do with novel, groundbreaking research that literally pushes the boundary of human knowledge in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes it might be dumb, sometimes it might not be, but I just feel like I want to see more of that, and I think, any small ways to encourage that, I think would be really helpful, and so that's why I'm kind of pushing for this. It's why I try to make sure that my streams have a research tag in brackets so people know, hey, that's kind of the vibe that I want to get from the stream, where we can talk about research topics, we can talk about this kind of stuff. I don't know, I just feel like having more content available for people who care about that would be quite nice. Okay, let's keep going from there. Let's see. The reason why your stream doesn't show up in search is because your title has research, not research. It shows up if you search research, but no one does that. Right, okay. To be fair, yeah, that's probably fair. I could modify it so it's without the brackets, but no one puts research in their title, right? So I wanted a tag, not brackets. I could do this, I guess. 1 second. That would work, I guess. Let's go ahead and done there. Like no one, I don't want people to have to search for research. What I want them to be able to do is you go over here to Twitch, twitch.tv. Here, that'll do. Enter. And then go to, I don't know where I am, but go to browse and then just search for tags and just search for research. Search for research. Here. That's what I was hoping for. It's similar to what they can do with programming. Here, to find programming streams, or what they can do with speed runs. For example, is another one. So if they want a speed run, they can just click here and they find all the speed runs, that type of thing, Apparently there aren't, it's low to high, so I want high to low. Why would anyone ever search, low to high? Anyway, so that's what I was hoping for, just a tag for research, so people who are browsing can just search research and they can find it. People still need to know that to search research, but, I think it's a little bit better than, going here and looking, research. Because then you only have streams that have, I'll search for research. Researcher Ryan, maybe. Anyway, I'm being a bit, pedantic again. Okay, let's go here and let me go to the algorithm archive next. Oh, no. Perfect. Okay. 1 second. Okay, let's go to the algorithm archive. There. Oh, no, I screwed up. GitHub. Here, that'll do. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to the pull requests and we're going to take a look at a few of them. C++ compilation was added by MRS recently. I think we can actually just go ahead and merge this guy. I think. So let me just go ahead and read it, see if it's okay to go, and then we should be good. This looks fine. I'm wondering maybe we should already add a few more flags like pedantic, W extra. Okay, so I guess the discussion here should be, so this looks good to me. I think it should work fine. I'm happy to review and approve. And then I think what we want to do is create a new issue. Oh, wait. I'm like super not explaining myself here. Let me go to the algorithm archive really quick. Okay, so what are we working on here? In case you haven't been here before, you've never seen the algorithm archive. This is an online textbook that we're working on together as a community to essentially teach algorithms, right? Now, as opposed to a lot of the other algorithm repositories available online, the point here is to provide really good detailed descriptions of the algorithms that we're working on. So here, for example, is convolutions in 1D, and we put a lot of effort into making sure that this is clear and intuitive in the best way possible, right? And so, the other thing is that you can switch between the languages at the end here. So if you prefer Python, you can look at Python. If you prefer Julia, you can do Julia. If you prefer C#, you can do that as well. And so this is the algorithm archive in a nutshell. The idea is that you can read about whatever algorithm you want in whatever language you want, in hopefully a way that's deep and gives you intuition as to what that algorithm is. So for example, if we go to tree traversal here, fine. We have a whole bunch of languages for tree traversal. Or the Euclidean algorithm, for example, is the one that we have the most available in because it's such an easy algorithm. You literally just, you have 20 or 30 different languages here. You can just switch between them all at will. So this is kind of the idea of the algorithm archive. It's meant to, again, give people an in-depth discussion of algorithms in a way that you don't see on Rosetta Code, you don't see in many other places. And we're trying to basically compete with numerical recipes or something like that. We're not trying to compete with Rosetta Code or any of that kind of stuff. So in some sense, all the different languages serve as a way to better understand the algorithms, not as the languages are there to help people learn. That's what they're there for. And so they're not meant to be super quick. They're meant to be kind of clear representations of this language in action, like Python or C++ or Julia or whatever. That's kind of the point. Okay. Anyway, I'm being I'm doing a very bad job of speaking today, but that's kind of where I'm at. Okay, so we're going to go to pull request here. So what is this pull request here? This is an update to the C++ compilation instructions, specifically using scons, so that people can better build C++. So I'm going to say I approve of this guy, and what I want to say is that we should probably create a separate issue for all of the errors, but I think we already have that. So the issue here is that over time with the algorithm archive, there have been several people who have implemented code in C and C++. And depending on the compiler and several other things, there have been several warnings and stuff that kind of got through peer reviews. Not necessarily errors so much, but problems with the code. And so if we want to add a bunch of different flags and stuff to make it so we're more strict about the C++ code that enters the algorithm archive, we have to fix that old code. So what I want to do is check the issues here and see if there's a discussion about C and C++ here. I don't know if there is inconsistent approximate counting implementation. Was this fixed? I think this was fixed. Oh, no, I didn't finish this. Attempt at standardization. What was this done? Hey, how are you, Shakala Bakala? I hope you're having a wonderful day. I believe this was fixed. The first line counting tests 100 trials also start with that. I think that was fixed. Let's go to files changed. Yes, I believe this has been fixed. So let me just go back over here, and just ask, is this guy ready to be merged? If so, we're good to go. Right, yeah, C++ also applies to C, correct. Just gonna ask, is this ready to be merged at Storm? Are they not in the algorithm archive group? I thought they were. This is just a comment. Okay, I'm just gonna ask, comment there, because I think that's good to go. Hey Nick, how are you? There's several PRs to fix warnings in C and C++. Okay. So should we create a general issue, you think, for that? Or should we just kind of let it go and just say, look, there are PRs up about this. I took a week off of work and am pleased as peaches. Oh, that sounds wonderful, actually. Taking a week off of work sounds... I hope you enjoyed it, because that sounds like... It sounds wonderful is what it sounds. And I'm happy to hear that you're pleased as peaches. I'm sorry I'm not speaking correctly. Words are just not coming out. Right, let's go to pull requests here. Stacking QC++ fix C's warnings. This is this guy right here. So does this already fix? Okay. I think now the basic assumption of the Gauss-Jordan algorithm implementation, we assume that we have an n times n matrix, and we augment it with a vector, which means we need to have an n times n plus 1 matrix. Okay, right. So let me take a look at the files changed here. I saw this and I had forgotten that this had happened. So does this fix all the warnings? So the build PR looks great. Oh, I see what this is doing. This is changing. This doesn't conflict, right, with the other PR you just put up? I assume it doesn't. I assume that 939 and 934 don't conflict. So we can still merge 939 without breaking 934, right? Let me get some water. If so, I think we're good to go. Because we can just add the wall, W extra, W error, and stuff like that in this PR, I think. Right? Coolie Tuki. So where does this one break, I guess is my question. So let me go to the discussion. Also, after we do these PRs, I'm going to take a look at the chapter, which will probably take, I don't know, maybe an hour. I'm not sure. So I'm kind of procrastinating a bit on that. Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, I think this one's good to merge. So I'm happy to go ahead and approve it. So what kind of algorithms are you looking for in the archive? So the algorithm archive is also called the arcane algorithm archive, in that what we're really looking for are algorithms and stuff that are not properly covered in other texts super well. So like sorting and searching, we can put that in the algorithm archive, but what we're really focusing on, or what I really focus on, are things like the approximate counting algorithm, or like the split operator method, or things like this, which are a bit more difficult or not as discussed in other places. I fix warnings really brutally, so semantically it could be wrong. Okay, so we specifically want someone who can do the C review then. In my mind, even if it is kind of brutally, I think it's fine, because like, for example, size T, fine. I mean, that's totally fine. Change everything to a size t. That's a big one. The change to stdlib. Okay, this is all fine. All of this, what happened with that one? Struct canvas, struct point, and old value. Where's the new value? 1 second. Okay, sure. Wait, what happened to the new value in that one? Okay, so we need to go through and make sure it's fine, but I think it should be okay. But yeah, so but you said there was one algorithm that doesn't quite work here, right? Things that are not documented well. Yes, but should it be more general ones, or could it be something that's quite specific to a topic? It depends on how specific, but in general, if there is a wealth of people using it, and by that I mean like if there is like, for example, DMRG, dense matrix renormalization group, like that's a topic that really does deserve a chapter of its own in the algorithm archive. And the reason being that there are a lot of people that use DMRG, but basically nobody knows how it works, right? And so like, it's one of these topics that like, like maybe some of the protein folding stuff, obviously molecular dynamics, things that like people know a lot about but don't know how to like get into. They don't have like a good intuitive guide to get started. That's the kind of stuff that we focus on. But in general, if you want to put any algorithm in the algorithm archive, we're slowly but surely getting these chapter PRs done. It just takes a while. The one that feels definitely weird is Gaussian elimination. So, the one that feels weird with the C++ PR. Or in general, maybe in general, Gaussian elimination seems a bit weird. To be fair, Gaussian elimination was there so that I could talk more about like backward Euler method and stuff like this, which I think needed Gaussian elimination for the solve in the end. I think. So not niche ones. No, niche ones are fine. Like that's why I mentioned DMRG. It's totally niche, but it's just a lot of people are still using it. It's just basically anything that has a paper available for it is probably fine, but not like super niche. Not like this was published in 2020, in the fixed warning PR. Right. Okay, we can take a look at that in a bit. So I think what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and say, I think this guy's good to go. So I'm going to approve this one, but not merge it. So I think this one looks fine to me. Happy to approve. Okay, so go ahead and submit the review there. I'm not going to merge it because there could be something, maybe some conflicts with 934 or whatever. So I'll leave it there. What I want to do next is I want to take a look at the PR for the Metropolis algorithm in Python. Look at the changes and see if we can just go ahead and get that guy finished. I know, Emrys, you did a lot of discussion on the Python implementation. So now the next thing that I have to do is check the chapter, make sure that it's actually reviewed appropriately and everything like that. So I'm going to do that now. Let's go ahead and go here, and we're going to get through that. I started learning how to get TensorFlow Lite onto microcontrollers to mess around with growing plants. Interesting. Do you know if it's trivial to just yoink these algorithms and plug them into TensorFlow Lite? I don't know, because I really don't know what TensorFlow Lite is. But yeah, some of them might be. I should probably learn a bit more about like what that is before like actually committing or saying one thing or another. Okay, so a few corrections. Let's see. I believe the latest push addresses all of the above concerns, also slightly modified Markdown to add a little discussion about the second video on the Metropolis Walker. Perfect. Okay, let me go ahead and read through the text here. Just grab the latest changes and see what happened. So view command line instructions. I think I just get poll and see what the changes are. So we're going to go over here, CD into projects, algorithm archive. Here, get branch. Sorry about that. Control C, get branch. Okay, right, so get checkout. Where is it? This guy. Shidipdo there. Perfect. Okay, and I should just be able to pull from this guy. Oh, not what I meant. Let's go over here, paste that there. This should work, I think. Okay, perfect. Right, and quit. It's a merge, but that's okay. And let's just take a look and see what's been changed. There's obviously a lot that has been changed. So we'll just work through all the changes one step at a time. But some of them are types of algorithms that build TensorFlow. Right. I should get back to reviewing that PR indeed. I don't know what's left in the Python to review, but I'm definitely taking a look at the chapter right now. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get this in soon. So literature.bib was added, distributions.md was added, which is going to be nice. Let's just go over here and let's just work on it. So we're going to cd into projects, algorithm archive. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. All right, L is here, and let's do git, npm run serve. All right. If you have PC handy, could you move 937 in the master overview? We should definitely be doing the master overview a bit better. I'm sorry, we are not doing that super well. Let's see. Yo, this is encouraging. I'm not the best with math, so it'll be awesome to wield the power of math without needing to fully understand it. That's fair. Merge for mobile. Okay, so let me go here. What am I going to do? Let's just open up a new browser, move it up over here, and just kind of start working on it. Okay, so first I'm going to go to the algorithm archive. Localhost. There. Then we're going to go to, let's see, what do we want to look at first? I think I'm going to look at, we have summary.md, metropolis.md was changed, seems somewhat drastically. Then we have distributions.md. So let's do distributions.md first. Where is that put? That should be under mathematical methods. Where's math methods? Matrix methods. Mathematical background, probably, then. Probability distributions should be fine. Okay. We'll get through this. Let me make it a bit bigger so it's easier to read. There we go. And then what are we going to do next? Actually, let me move this here is what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can push directly to the PR or not, but we'll just see. Okay, there we go. So we'll read through that, and then we also read through the metropolis.md file and just see what they look like. Our goal is to help teach you the algorithms so we can also make you better at math. Right. So this is also something like a lot of people, like if you see something in the algorithm archive that you feel was not clear, that's on me most of the time. Even if I wasn't the one that wrote it, it's definitely on me because I'm the editor in some sense for those chapters that I didn't write. To be fair, most of them, I wrote. So if you have a trouble understanding the algorithm, that's on me. If there's an implementation problem, then you can probably easily create a PR. Not easily, but you can create a PR to change the implementation to be easier to read. Again, the hope is that the algorithms are like the languages help you better understand the algorithm. Like that's kind of what we're going with here. So that's the hope. And so if you ever feel like a chapter in the algorithm archive doesn't help you understand it, or if there's something holding you back, then this is something we definitely need to talk about, you know? Okay, let's keep going. So what's a probability distribution? Discrete probability distributions. It's intuitive for us to understand what a discrete probability distribution is. For example, we understand the outcomes of a coin toss very well, and also that of a dice roll. For a single coin toss, a probability distribution can be formally written as... Right, so we need the little math thing. That's fine. Right, so I need to add that. Let's go here. Okay, let's just go through. So there should be a distributions.md file, but what I'm looking for in particular is this probability distribution. Where is the metropolis.md file? Should be here, and we need... There should be like a little math thing. Oh, unless they didn't add it in. Where is it? Oh, is it not in the metropolis.md file either? Dang, he must have just missed it. It's fine. So where's Metropolis? Should be there. Sure. Wait, no, that seemed to load okay. So the issue here is that sometimes, so the math jacks or whatever, which is what's used to load the math in the algorithm archive, will sometimes just not load if you don't have a particular like snippet of code at the bottom of every file. And I'm trying to see that snippet of code. I don't see it. I know it should be here somewhere. Wait, is this a probability? Density functions, yeah. Normalization of a density function, sure. License, int here, text, pull request. Did I miss something? I must have missed something. This must be the wrong file. That's a probability density function. File, let's go. I like the new bibliography, that's great. Where is it? 1 second. Random walk. There it is, metropolis.md. That's why I couldn't find it. Perfect. Okay, let's go down here, and we want to add... No. 1 second. Where is it? This guy. This needs to be added to... 1 second. Probability distribution file. Well, anyway, start the review and just kind of get through it. Okay, so let's start with the bit here. I think okay. This is the reason I don't normally do chapter reviews on stream. It's just a lot of me just like frantically typing and like reading, and it's hard. It's hard to do. But it's something that needs to be done. Let's do it. Add a review comment. Let's get through it. There's a Metropolis algorithm, so let's go to mathematical methods. There, perfect. Okay. It's intuitive for us to understand what a discrete probability distribution is. For example, we understand that the outcomes of a coin toss very well, and also that of a dice roll. I feel like this should just be a sentence or two separate sentences. So let me just do, let's do this, that, here. I don't mind it. I enjoy shared reviews. I think, so the only fear I have, is that I end up being a little bit mean. And, you know, I hate doing that because, like, the thing is, you know, when you're doing a review, you don't think about, like, you don't think about people's feelings until the review is completed. And then you reword everything to make it sound nicer, you know? And so, like, while I'm reading, I'm like, this sounds weird. This is kind of messy, blah, 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 blah. But obviously, like, I'm very grateful that people are submitting anything at all. And so a lot of times I'm afraid to do reviews on stream because I'm afraid I come off as, like, this guy who's, like, ungrateful. But I'm, like, incredibly grateful. I'm super happy that people are, like, engaging at all with the content. And so it's kind of like... It's like one of those things, you know? On the harsh side, people's feelings shouldn't get in the way of finding the truth. Right, I do understand that, but also, like, people are people, right? And I don't know, I just feel like, I feel like, you know, you gotta be a bit, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm doing a very bad job of saying whatever it is I'm trying to say. But my point is, I'm always afraid of doing the reviews on stream because I never know what's going to come up. And there could be something that I'm like, ooh, that's, there could be something that I look at and I'm like, that's not great. And I don't want to say that when someone's on stream and they're like all starry-eyed and they're like, I'm so excited. We're finally getting this PR merged. And then I'm like, yeah, this is crap. You know, like, to be fair, I don't think I've ever done that. But, like, there's always that fear that, like, I'm going to read something and I'm going to be like, don't like that, you know? Trilobyte, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Okay, so it's intuitive for us to understand what a discrete probability distribution is. For example, we understand the outcomes of a coin toss very well, and also that of a dice roll. For a single coin toss, a probability distribution can be formally written as this. P is 1/2 a probability of 0 of not being heads or tails. All right, I'm going to say something really stupid here, and you guys you're going to have to hold me back here, and I'm going to have to say, what if it lands on its side? What? Okay, well, sure. There's a virtually 0 chance. Let me see if he says that. I didn't actually read that. Okay, so basically, which is basically saying that the probability that the outcome n takes on any specific value is 0.5. If those specific values are h or t, wait, let me reread this, which is written as p is equal to this, which is basically saying that the probability that the outcome n takes on any specific value is 0.5. I feel like that's kind of clunky. Am I the only one that feels like that's a little bit clunky? I think what we should do is probably modify this guy so that there's a period at the end. Not that guy, sorry. Modify, cancel this guy, and then end cases. I think what I want to do is suggestion here. Chicks back there. What do you call those? Ticks? Like the 3 back ticks? They must be back ticks. Period. Let's go in here, cancel that, add review comment, and then in here, change this guy. We're basically saying that the probability, I'm just going to change it into a new sentence because I don't know, it just sounded weird to me. Suggestion, this is saying that the probability that the outcome n will take on any specific value, I think, is basically saying that the probability that the outcome n was the outcome. Okay, takes on either heads or tails, takes on the specific value of h or t, the value of either heads, h, 1 second, or tails, 1 second, t, is 0.5. I think that makes a bit more sense to me, at least. The second line states the probability of any other possibility is 0. I'm just going to put a little comment in here. Loki Doro, thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. Essentially are essentially ignoring the case where the coin lands on its, what's it called? On its edge? We can usually ignore this line as it's quite trivial. It is understood that anything outside of heads or tails is okay. It's not totally impossible. Like, you know, it could land on its edge. As is in it. The second line states that the probability of any other possibility is 0. We can usually ignore this line as it's quite trivial, and it is understood that anything outside heads or tails is as 1 second. As is quite trivial because I'm modifying this sentence a bit. I'm hoping that, you know, they don't hate me for this. Let's see. Reading the sentence like P H T 1/2 though. I read the sentence like P of H or T is equal to 1/2 though. Well, let me rewrite this, and then we're gonna try to figure out how to make this work. Okay, so this is basically saying that the probability that the outcome n takes on the value of either heads or tails is 0.5. So you're saying what? I read the sentence like P of H or T is equal to 1/2. Wait. Let me suggest this, and then let me finish this thought. Then let me figure out how to fix it. I think you're right. Second line says the probability of any other possibility is 0. We can usually ignore this line as it's quite trivial. We can usually ignore this line. Is incredibly unlikely. We can usually ignore this line as it's incredibly trivial, as anything outside of heads or tails, such as landing on an edge, is incredibly unlikely and even impossible, depending on how we toss our coin. Let's see, something like that. Add review comment. Okay, so now let me just read this through again. Okay, so the original sentence was the following. It was for a single coin toss, the probability distribution can be formally written as P is going to be equal to a fraction of 1/2. What does that look like? Here it is. P is equal to 1/2 n. There's a 1/2 probability of n being within T and a 0% probability of n not being within H or T. I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm reading the math funny here. I don't know why. I don't know why. I also feel like we should define what the... I think we should define this symbol as well. I don't think we've explained what that symbol is. Yeah, I think I know that sounds super trivial, but like, you know, someone's gonna be reading this chapter on probability, and they're gonna see that, and they're gonna be like, "What the heck is that?" You know, like, I think I would also like to add a brief comment on that. Just say, suggestion. Maybe 1 second. Add one more line saying, here, yeah, okay, here. What is it? It's in, isn't it? Yeah. The math symbol is read as within, and means, let's see, here, this is a mathematical, this symbol means that, here, this symbol means that, does that actually make any sense? 1/2, oh, n is within h or t. N is within h or t, while yes, you're right. It's actually quite hard to define. Is within h or t, meaning that it is, in this case, it means that n must be either h or t. Correspondingly, I want to say correspondingly because I want to write it like a paper. Also, ht implies that it's an interval, not a discrete set. Okay, I'm gonna ask a stupid question. What does that mean in this case? I mean, like, intuitively, I'm like, okay, this is either h or t, but like, is that actually the correct notation? The brackets? Should it be a parentheses instead? Okay. Let's see. Let's just do this symbol, because there's another sentence immediately after, not in. Means that n is not in. The defined set. I think that's fine for the most part. Something like that. I'm not saying that's the best way to write it. And then we say this this statement is basically, this means that this equation this means that this equation is basically saying that the probability of the outcome taking on the value, probability of the outcome taking on the value of either heads or tails is 0.5. And I'm going to modify this so it's frac of 1/2. So it's consistent with the equation. This means that the equation is basically saying, this means that the above equation is basically saying that the probability of the outcome n taking on the value of either heads or tails is 1/2. The second line that the first line of the equation is saying, one second, pressing the wrong button. Okay, this means that the first line of the equation is saying that the probability of the outcome n taking on the value of either heads or tails is 1/2. The second line says that the probability of any other possibility is 0. We can usually ignore this line as it's quite trivial because anything outside of heads or tails, such as landing on an edge, is incredibly unlikely or even impossible depending on how we toss our coin. Okay, maybe. It's written in this list, like in Python, but it should be written between. Right. I think I'll mention that as well, and just say, I'll just say maybe we should use. Okay. Obviously, if you have more things to comment, please do. Okay. Slowly getting there. I mean, this is the problem, right? Like every time I do chapters, like I'm super pedantic, and I've like multiple times today I've mentioned how pedantic I am, and it's just true. The more I look at this stuff, the more I'm like, okay. So one important thing to take note of for a probability distribution is a set of possibilities or the domain of the distribution. Here, HT is a domain of P. Here, HT is the domain of P, N. One important thing to always take note of for a probability distribution is the set of possibilities or the domain of the distribution. Here, HT is the domain of Pn, telling us that n can only be h or t. I think that's fine, but the first sentence is bugging me a bit. I don't know why. Again, these are suggestions. They don't have to take them. To be honest, being pedantic is good. It seems like a pain, but in the end, ensures quality. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's kind of how I see it as well. One important thing to always take note of for probability distribution is the set of possibilities or the domain. I think we can modify this so it just says it's always important to take the set of. Just modify this to say for a probability distribution. It's important to take note of the set of possibilities. Set of possibilities or the domain of the distribution. I think that's fine. Add new review comment. In math, being pedantic is probably better. Yeah, I mean, it's true for most of research. The more pedantic you are, the more likely it is that you're gonna like not make a mistake, right? What happened there? Edit? Suggestion. Update comment. There we go. I agree at work as well. There is a lot of small pedantic stuff during code review, but the result shows in the end. Yeah, I mean, this is true as well, right? I mean, specifically, for code reviews and math and stuff like that, you gotta be a bit, you have to be a bit precise, There's a lot of creativity in, mathematical and code expression, but at the same time, like, you gotta make sure you're following the style guides and stuff like that, Especially using universal notation is good, right? The outcome, n, can always be a number. For example, the outcome of a dice roll has a probability. I see what they're saying. Okay. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. I think I'm just being super. Anyway, it's fine. Let's go here and just say. What's with the glove? The glove is so I use a drawing tablet as my mouse. So here's a drawing tablet right here. And so because of that, the glove just means that my hand doesn't like stick on the tablet as I'm moving it around and stuff like that. That's all it's for. Some people say it's for, like when they look at it, they think it's for like RSI or something like that. And to some extent it is for repetitive strain injury because like if I click a lot with my finger, it hurts, So it's just that with the pen, I click with my thumb, so it's a little bit easier. And so it's just a little bit more ergonomic or whatever to use a drawing tablet for my mouse. So that's why I use it. It just saves a little bit of clicking and makes it just a little bit easier. Plus it's just kind of nice to just like have a direct point on screen. I like it. I need to stop ranting about it. I like it. That's all it is. If we use a different system, I think, let's see, the output M, N, I think I want to change this. The output n, if we use a different system, one second, the outcome for n could also be a number. For example, the outcome of a dice roll has a probability distribution. Okay, that seems fine. Okay, good. There's a probability distribution, 1 out of 6, n is within 1 to 6. I think that's fine, which is saying that the probability of n being a whole number between 1 and 6 is 1 out of 6. And we assume that the probability of getting any other n is 0. This is a discrete probability function because n is an integer and thus only takes discrete values. Okay, this is fine. Both of the above examples are rather boring because the value of p of n is the same for all n. An example of a discrete probability function where the probability actually depends on n, where n is the sum. Wait, let me read this. An example of a discrete probability function where the probability actually depends on n is when n is the sum of numbers on a roll of 2 die. Okay, in this case, p of n is different for each n, as some possibilities like n equals 2 can happen in only one possible way, getting 1 on both die, whereas n equals 4 can happen in 3 ways. Okay, fair enough. I see what they're saying here. The rolling of 2 die is a great case study for how we can construct a probability distribution, since the probability varies and is not immediately obvious how it varies. I thought die was singular. I must be wrong. What's the singular of die? Okay, close here. Roll the dice, lucky sevens, casino can be vibrant. You'll find plenty of references to one die as a dice in print. Why? The reason is I thought the singular of dice is die. Who says no? Dice are a small, often wooden plastic cubes. 1 die, 2 dice, 3 dice. Yeah, okay. Where are we? We're here. We're just saying the probability of n being a whole number between 1 and 6. Dice roll, right? We're just saying that the probability of n... Both of the above examples are rather boring because the value of p of n is the same for all n. An example of a discrete probability function where the probability actually depends on n is where n is the sum of numbers on a roll of 2 different die. Okay, I think die... For the algorithm archive, is it just math algorithms or more generic stuff like bounding volume hierarchies that could be some stuff I can contribute to potentially? Oh, you know about bounding volume hierarchies. Actually, I was going to talk a bit about that kind of stuff soon. But how is that not mathy? That's super mathy, isn't it? Or am I missing something? The rolling of 2 die is a great case study for how we can construct a probability distribution, since the probability varies and it's not immediately obvious how it varies. So let's go ahead and construct it. Let's first define the domain of our target p of n. We know that the lowest sum of the 2 die is 2, a 1 on both sides. So n is greater than or equals to 2 for sure. Similarly, the maximum is the sum of 2 6s, or 12. So now we know the domain of possibilities. Here, dang it, try it again. So now we know, 1 second, the domain of possibilities, that's misspelled, sure, i.e. n is in 2 and 12. Next we take a very common approach. We count the number of different ways each of the possible values of n can occur. Let's call this frequency f of n. Call this frequency f of n of each of the possible n. We already know that f of 2 is equal to 1. Okay, that doesn't make sense to me. F of 2 is equal to 1? F of 2 is equal to 1 as there's only one way to get that pair of 1s. Okay, sure. So n equals 3, we see that there are 2 possible ways. Sure. If you continue doing this for all n, you may see a pattern. once you have all, visualize it in a plot. The plot should be next. Let me check. Sure, okay. Good. So the most common sum of the two die is 7. And the further away from 7 you get, the less likely the outcome. Good to know for a prospective gambler. Is that right? Wait a minute, is that right? I thought it was more Gaussian-like. I was expecting the stream to still be live. I'd have come back sooner. How are things? Things are great. How are things for you? Was breakfast okay? Did you have you gotten any word back about your what is it called? You said it at the very start. The review of the final product for Alice in Wonderland. I don't remember what it's called. The Crew watch. I assume that's going to happen soon, right? This is a genuine question. Isn't this supposed to be more Gaussian-like? Am I just dumb? Why is this not Gaussian? 2 dice rolls. Microstates for 2 dice rolls. Interesting. So that's me just not knowing. That's fine. Okay. Ad review. I'm not directly involved with the Crew watch for Cinderella, so I'm not really getting emails about it. Oh, that's fair. Ad review comment. Interesting. I thought it was more Gaussian-like. So normalization. If Fn is plotted above, if the Fn plotted above is technically not the probability Pn, because we know that the sum of all probabilities should be 1, which clearly isn't the case for f of n. But we can just get that by dividing. But we can get that by dividing. Yeah. So here's. Wait 1 second. Now there should be in the how to contribute guide. Let me just check really quick. I'm pretty sure the how to contribute guide has a very clear, what do we have here? GitHub repository. Let's go to how to contribute guide, Wikipedia. Let's go to the chapter submission, and it should say the chapter fits in the broader scope of the algorithm archive is enough. It should say somewhere, chapter contents, chapter maintenance and upkeep. 1 second. Oh, I don't mention that. I thought I would. I can't believe I didn't mention that. Okay, well, I should have mentioned that then. That I like every sentence to be on a new line. I'm just going to ask them to do that really quick, just to make updates easier in the future. Because it's always a pain. Okay, here we are. So f of n is technically not the probability P of n because we know the sum of all probabilities should be 1, which clearly isn't the case for f of n. But we can get that by, we can get the probability by dividing f of n by the total number of possibilities, n. For 2 die, n is equal to 6 times 36. But we could also express this as the sum of all frequencies. I just didn't mention that at the top. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's keep going, which would also equal to 36 in this case. So by dividing f of n by the sum of fn, we get our target probability distribution P of n. This process is called normalization, and it's crucial for determining almost any probability distribution. So in general, we have the function f of n. If we have the function f of n, we can get the probability as the following. Sure. Sure. So note that f of n does not necessarily have to be the frequency n, the frequency of n. It could be any. It could really be any function which is proportional to P of n. Okay, I don't know what's meant by frequency. What's frequency? And in the definition, P of n would still hold. It's easy to check the sum is now equal to 1. Sure. Since that. I should know what the frequency is, but I don't. I genuinely don't. Did I miss something? Okay. We could express it as the sum of all frequencies. Okay, I see. So he's calling a frequency. Okay, I'm just going to mention here, I see. I don't know if it's just me, but I find the notation of calling this a frequency is a bit weird. I usually use microstate and macrostate notation. Let's see. I find frequency confusing, but that might just be me. Let's see. Let's go and add the review comment there. Okay, sum of n, which would also equal to 36 in this case. So by dividing fn by the sum of n, we get our probability distribution. Normalization, note here that it does not necessarily have to be the frequency of n. The f of n does not necessarily have to be the frequency of n. It could be really any function which is proportional to p. And the above definition, I'm just going to be honest, I'm actually kind of lost on this line. I don't know what this means. What does it mean for... I don't know. What does it mean? I don't know. The frequency of n. F of n does not necessarily have to be the frequency of n. It could really be any function which is proportional to p of n. I don't even know how to explain that I don't understand it. Like, that's how far I'm like gone here. So note that f of n does not necessarily have to be the frequency of n. It could really be any function which is proportional to p of n. And the above definition of p of n would still hold. It's easy to check that the sum is now equal to 1 since the following. Okay, so sure, that's fair. Oh, frequency is the number of occurrences. I see, that's what frequency means, is the number of occurrences of n. Okay, maybe we just need to mention that. I get it now. Okay. I think... okay, good. So now I understand what the frequency is. Okay, I get it now. Okay. Above definition P would still hold. Okay, sure. Okay, I get it now. Fine. That makes sense. I just didn't know what frequency meant. That was my bad. Once we have the probability function P, we can calculate all sorts of probabilities. For example, but this is actually wrong. Let's go here, there, paste that there, there. It could be any function which is proportional. There we go. Okay. Once we have the probability function P of n, we can calculate all sorts of probabilities. For example, let's say we want to find the probability that n will be between two integers a and b inclusive. For brevity, I think I just want to remove the word inclusive, but maybe I shouldn't, because I think that's just going to scare people away. Let's go here, paste this there. Okay. Between A and B, I'm just going to remove the word inclusive, or maybe say integer A and B, between two integers A and B, also including A and B. Sure, maybe. For brevity, we will use a notation of p is equal to this to denote the probability. To calculate it, we simply have to sum up all the probabilities for each value of n in that range, i.e. the following. Sure. Okay, so that seems fine. Add a review comment. Whew, this is going to take a lot longer than I thought. The problem is saying that the frequency is the number of occurrences, since that basically conflicts with the whole field of statistics, I think. Right, okay. So maybe... oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. Thanks, Nick. That's super good. So maybe we walk through the Docker thing once I get through the distributions.md file. There's actually a lot left with the distributions.md file. But once I get through that, let's talk about the Docker thing. And then we'll come back to the other MD file after this. Or maybe today I do the probability distribution stuff and then do Metropolis after that. Because there's actually a lot to this chapter, right? Okay, so yeah, that's what we should do. So we'll do today we'll do the distribution stuff, and then we'll come back tomorrow to the Metropolis stuff. That seems fine. The problem is saying that the frequency is the number of occurrences, since that basically conflicts with the whole field of statistics, I think. Now for that statement, I don't know. So that's the thing. Frequency, to me, is super vague, and I didn't know what was meant. So I'm actually in favor of not using the word frequency at all. So that's why I was like, I don't know if it's just me, but I've never called these frequencies, find that notation a bit confusing. I think what I'll say is, I think they're at least... Okay, but we'll see, right? I mean, let's just keep working on it a bit, you know? So what if instead of a discrete variable n, we had continuous variable x, like the temperature or weight? In that case, it doesn't make sense to ask what the probability is of x being exactly a particular number. There are an infinite number possible real numbers after all, so the probability of x being exactly any of them is essentially 0. But it does make sense to ask what the probability is that x will be between a certain range of values. For example, one might say that there is a 50% chance that the temperature tomorrow at noon will be between 5 and 15, or a 5% chance that it will be... Okay, one more suggestion. Okay, in here, I'm slowly working through this. Okay. 1 second, at noon. Okay. For example, one might say that there is a 50% chance, or 5% chance that it will be between 16 and 16.5. But how do we put all that information for every possible range in a single function? The answer is to use a probability density function. What does that mean? Well, suppose x is a continuous quantity, and we have a probability density function p of x, which looks like this. Now, if we're interested in the probability of the range of values that lie between x naught and x naught plus dx, all we have to do is calculate the area of the green sliver above. This is the defining feature of a probability density function. The probability of a range of values is the area of the region on the probability density function curve, which is within that range. Okay, but how do we quantify this area? Imagine that the green sliver in the diagram is really, really thin, infinitesimally thin to be precise, with the width dx almost vanishing to 0. In that case, the area of the green sliver is approximated by a rectangle of height px with a width of dx, so the area will be this. Okay, so strictly speaking, px itself is not a probability, but rather the probability is a quantity, px, or any area under the curve. That's why we call px a probability density at x. Well, the actual probability is only defined for ranges of x. Okay, but what about large ranges of x, which are not infinitesimally thin? We do exactly what we did for the discrete case, sum up the probabilities of each and every distinct range of values, each within an infinitesimal width at dx. And what do we call such a sum over a continuous variable? Why an integral, of course. Who knew calculus could come in handy? Okay, so I do have a bit of a problem with this. Like, before the notation was actually quite... The notation was kind of... the notation was kind of like a bit... I don't know how to put it, but it was a bit strong in the discrete sense. And now I feel like it's kind of like acting like they don't know... Like, it went from something that I felt was like a kind of undergraduate to upper undergraduate level to high school level. And so I feel like this last line is out of place. a bit. The discussion on discrete PDFs was almost at an undergrad level, while this feels more like high school. I don't know if we need to recap calculus. Anyway, I'm just saying I don't know if we need to recap calculus or not. That's what I'm going to say there. Sure. Normalization of density function. We're just going to go down here really quick. I mean, overall, I like the diagrams. I think they're quite nice. Just like in the discrete case, we often first calculate some density or frequency function f, which is not p, but proportional to it. We can get the probability density function by normalizing it in a similar way, except that we integrate instead of sum. Okay, sure. For example, consider the normal distribution function here, which is defined for all real numbers x. We first integrate it, or do a quick Google search, as it's rather tricky to get the following. Is that the normal distribution function? I mean, look, I realize that we'll create a Gaussian, but almost always you have additional parameters, right? Like when people think normal distribution function, they usually think of at least some sort of sigma or something like that. So let me just go here and say, I mean, you're right. So I think I don't know if it's right to call this a distribution function without the standard deviation. So let's see, maybe Amaris, I just for the record, I found your comment quite funny. I just thought it was like, I don't know, my brain was just not in the space, but it's just kind of funny to be like, oh crap, oh there it is. Calculus right there. Say right that this is a hard Gaussian, but I don't think it's right to call this the normal distribution function without the standard deviation, for example. Say that we consider the normal distribution. One second. Which boils down to yeah, sure. Here, that, add review comment. Okay, which is defined, sure. Let's see. And so we have this. In general, normalization can allow us to create a probability distribution out of almost any function. There are really only two rules that fx must satisfy to be a candidate for probability density distribution. This is non-negative for any subdomain S of D, and D must be finite. Yeah, like this is also like, that's well beyond a high school level. Like talking about integrating over a domain, like, you know, that's not something you'd cover in like Cal 1, you know, which is the only thing you'd cover in high school. But then above, it's like we're defining what calculus is, and it's like, I don't know. Like I kind of feel like it might be a bit off, but overall, I think that's fine. So I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna comment here and just say, overall, great chapter. I will get back to Metropolis tomorrow. Would you be willing to separate the sentences? Oh, separate to put each sentence. This helps review and also maintenance. I misspelled maintenance. Okay, I'm gonna be right back. Maintenance. How do you spell maintenance? Maintenance. That's annoying. My browser internet's so slow. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, let me go ahead and comment here. Okay. I'm going to be right back. Give me 2 minutes, and then we can talk about some of the stuff with Nick, in particular the GitHub ghcr.io stuff. I need to check that because I want to learn more about that, and I don't know much about it. So I'll be right back. Give me a second, and then we'll work on that. Okay, I'm back. So far, just to catch everybody up, we've actually gotten a lot done today. So we did a few algorithm archive PRs. We took a look at the old Barnes hot code. We did a lot of rambling. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to look at one more thing for the algorithm archive and then maybe call it for the day. I know it says that it's been 3 hours and 30 minutes of streaming, but actually I streamed for an hour and then I had to restart. So it's actually been 4 hours and 30 minutes of streaming. And so I'm getting a bit tired. So I think probably at the 5 hour mark today is about right. Again, slowly, surely getting more of these longer streams under wraps. Okay, so I want to take a look at this guy because I just want to know, what this is. I really just genuinely don't know what it is. And so I'm going to take a look at it and see what we got. Okay, algorithm archive languages. Let's go. Docker pull here. Looks great. Okay, so this then, is Nick still in chat? Maybe they left, which would be a bit unfortunate. Okay, so this is a package. It's a Docker. No, what is it that we're looking at? Install from the Docker. Oh, wait a minute. Is this what I think it is? Let me go ahead and grab this guy. Docker pull. So we Docker pull this guy. All right, let's do, let me load Docker here. So we're going to do CD projects, algorithm archive. There. Now what do I want to do? I want to run sudo system ctl enable start docker.service. I misspelled service. Try it again. See? System ctl. Okay, that should start Docker. And then what you're saying is we got to run docker run v pwd temp. Yeah, so I tried that last time and I couldn't quite get it to run. I was confused as to what it was supposed to do. So let me run this. Wait. Docker run requires at least one argument. Docker. 1 second. Docker run. What did I do wrong? 1 second. What do we have here? Run that free terminal. If you'd be interested, I can give you a shot in the bounding volume hierarchy since you wanted to talk about it. Could you send me a message on Discord or maybe an email or something just to hear what you have to talk about it? Because I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what it is. I thought it was something else, but then you said it might not be super numerical. But to me, it's very numerical. I've been playing a video game about hunting on my boyfriend's request. How is it? Just back the deer, one shot, nice. It'll take a bit, but still 10 times faster than setting it up yourself. Right, okay, so I ran the command, and I think what happened was it saw it as 2 separate lines. Yes, that's exactly what happened. So I went IT space, there. And it will find, okay, perfect. Yes, this is what happened last time. Right. Do I have to run, let's just see what happens. So I did this last time. I got this up, and then I was confused as to what to do at that stage. I think I understand what's supposed to happen, but this is actually quite cool. Probably don't need a pool. So let me get this running, and then I think what this did is this gave us a build environment that allows for us to build basically any package in the algorithm archive, right? So what I wasn't sure is if I should to test it, should I just go to random code and just try to build it and see what happens? I guess is my question. So let's give this a second to do its thing, because honestly, look, this is way better than whatever we had before, and we should definitely add this to the contribution guide. No, the what's it called? What is it called? The thing, how to contribute guide. I think it depends on. I think it depends, I suppose, how you approach it. But yeah, I suppose it can be paired extremely well with math, yeah? Yeah, so I'm surprised. So I guess I was surprised that it had nothing to do with math, because I've only heard of it in the sense of like domain boundary conditions and stuff like that for PDE solves. So that was why I was quite surprised when you said it didn't have to do with that. So now I don't know what it is. And so I think maybe we're talking about 2 completely different methods, which would be interesting. Okay, give this a second to do its thing, and we should be good to go. But yeah, I was quite happy with this. I was like, wow, built. Like when I did the PR for this, I was like, oh, it's quite good. Give it a second. Just gonna show it off. And then I guess we'll just build something. I mean, I think I already had everything. Oh, except for, there was one language I didn't have built. What was that language? Scala, maybe? Scala. What do we have Scala in? We probably have it in Euclidean algorithm. So for me, it's been extremely practical, ray tracing, so splitting shapes and models, etc., into hierarchies for fast ray traversal. Oh, right, yeah. I've seen it used for that as well. I'm surprised. So that ray tracing is like one of the most mathy things I've done. So I'm surprised that you didn't consider that to be very mathy. Basically run scans and build random code in each compiled language. Right. All right, let's just do that really quick just to make sure. But yeah, I'm super happy this is up. Yeah, this is really good. Like this is like, we're slowly getting to the stage where like the algorithm archive is like super easy to build, you know, it's like, this is what we want, you know? And I'm happy to see that we're getting there as well. All right, give it a second, it's almost done. But yeah, like compared to last time, it's way faster, which is also super good. I do have a question as to where my Docker containers are, which I'm gonna take a look at in just a second, but yeah. Okay, so run scans and build random code. So if I just use scans, what was it? Scans dot, right? Oh wait, no, ls. Oh, this is my issue. Right. Needs a bit more optimization. Okay, right, so this is my question. Now I remember what happened was, I built it, I was like, great, and then I didn't know where to go from here. And that was why I was confused. And so that was my ultimate question as to what I was supposed to do. So like, how do I, so cd into home, then we have VS Code. Why is it in temp? Wonderful. Okay. Let's just build some random Rust code then, or C++ code. No, C++ code was already written. Let's do Cooley-Tukey. CD into code. CD into code. There we go. ls here. Clear. ls CD into Rust. Okay, ls there. I don't think we can run the Rust code because we need that. The v command tells it where to put it from the run command. Okay. I see. So that's something I didn't know. So we did v. Okay, so we put it into temp. That's why. Okay. We move it, but that's where I mount things usually. No, that's perfect. I just didn't know what was happening. That was why I was confused. Okay, great. No, this is great. Great. So if I go into the Haskell code, right? CD back into Haskell, and then I just do can I just run it with Haskell? Compiler fft.hs. Look at that. So now we just do /fft. Boom. Perfect. Super nice. Yeah, I'm using this from now on. It's super nice. I really appreciate it. That is great. All right, Control D. Okay, so now this is my only question I had then. So my second question outside of the temp thing. So where is that now on my local machine? So how do I find that Docker image now? Eventually we'll be able to run scans to build everything, to test the building with the PRs. Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, if we could do that also, automating that with the CI, that'd be perfect if we could do that. Yeah, man, that makes things so nice. Like that solves most review problems, right? Because part of the review is making sure that the code looks good, but the other part of the review is making sure that the code actually runs. So no idea. Okay, that's fine as well. But we still have the old Docker build, right? Anyway, good. It's perfectly fine. CD tools. Where's the other Docker? That I built before. Git checkout. Master. We haven't changed it to main yet. Git pull upstream. Master. Meister. 1 second. Okay, good. So we have that down. We've got the Docker file. Oh, there it is right there. Perfect. With CI, we can now tell it to pull and use the container and run scans. Yeah, great. Like we could literally automate the entire building process. That would be perfect, you know. Run the same run command again. I did change branches. So we run the same run command. Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Great. Oh, great. So because it changed to the ghcr.io, that's why I had to run it again. Right. Perfect. Nice. Wonderful. This is actually super good. I'm super happy with this. That really does save me like an immense amount of time already. But the fact that we can now like potentially put that into the CI, it's perfect. Okay. And again, you know, do we actually need the CI to build like every run? We need to build on like the PR, like when you put the PRs in is when we need it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like that. Run the same run command again. Okay. So, right. I think this is where I'm going to close for today. We did a lot of discussions today about the Galaxy simulations, what we expect from them, how to get them to run. We talked about what simulations are, all this kind of stuff. I'll only be able to know if it compiles with scans to check that it runs. That's Storm. Oh, that's fair. You guys are totally right. Okay, I'm super happy with what we did today. We got the Barnes Hut stuff kind of sort of working again. We're gonna have to rebuild everything. That's totally fine. We had a long discussion about how we're gonna do the simulation, and I think by the end of this week we'll have some form of like GPU accelerated Barnes Hut stuff done. That's the goal by the end of this week. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be super good, but it will hopefully be done. And then we can go from there. My hope is to get this 4D Galaxy simulation done by the end of the year. That'd be super nice if we could do that. I don't know if we'll have like a paper to go with it or not. It depends on what the results are like with the N-Body simulator, but eventually we will have a paper out, at least with the next step for the research that we're doing here. Good. So again, I'm slowly trying to get the longer streams. Today I've streamed for about 5 hours, a little bit less than 5 hours, so 4 hours and 40 minutes. I will be live tomorrow. It might again be a short stream, but I'm going to do the best I can to be live at least every day, and see how that goes. So thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time it happens to be your time. And I'll see you guys around next time for the next episode of Leos Labs, which will be tomorrow, where we hopefully get a lot of really cool stuff done. Work on some algorithm archive stuff, work on some research stuff, and slowly but surely get these longer streams and like get the whole work day on Twitch is what I'm hoping to do. Probably will still read some papers off the stream, but hopefully I'll get most of it on stream. So people can just hang out. We can do some cool stuff together. That's it, guys. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.